Hello, hello, hello. Oh, yeah. I'm on it. Good morning.
Yep, there you go.
Yep, we're on. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Will County Board meeting for July 19th, 2023. Before we call this meeting to order, it is my understanding that we have audio, but we do not have visual online. So folks can hear us, they just cannot see us today. We are working and playing with it a little bit. Sometimes, we every meeting something. We try our best to make sure we get the info, so our public can hear, but they can hear as we understand, they just cannot see us, which may not be a bad thing. I'll call this meeting to order. Board Member Van Dyne will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as the county executive had said, I would like everyone to remain standing and have a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlotman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Winfrey. Coleman. Logan. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
With 19 members present, we have a quorum. I need a motion to place on file the certificate of publication. Motion by Mueller, seconded by Newquist. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlotman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
19 affirmative, the motion carries. I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for June 15th, 2023 board meeting. Motion by Revis, seconded by Ortiz. Is there previous roll call by Van Dyne? I heard a second by Dean Schlotman. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, will you please acknowledge the elected officials and media present today?
Yes, today we have County Executive Jennifer Bertino Tarrant, County Clerk Lauren Staley Ferry, Recorder of Deeds Karen Stukel, Sheriff Mike Kelly, and Treasurer Tim Brophy. And media, I think I see, yep, Herald News, Bob Ocon. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to honorary resolutions and proclamation. Today, we have one recognizing July as Park and Recreation Month. Board Member Van Dyne will read this proclamation.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. This is a proclamation recognizing July as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including the parks and recreation programs, facilities, and amenities maintained by the Forest Preserve District of Will County, along with numerous local park districts and municipalities in Will County. And whereas Our parks and recreation programs are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas these programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally and physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through its increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, and the attraction and retention of businesses and crime and reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas this theme, Where Community Grows, celebrates the vital role park and recreation professionals play in bringing people together, providing essential services, and fostering the growth of our communities. Whereas the Will County Board recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now therefore, be it proclaimed that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive recognize July as Parks and Recreation Month in Will County, Illinois. Be it further proclaimed that the Will County Board and the Will County Executive encourage all residents to take advantage of the numerous parks and recreation resources available in Will County. Dated this 19th day of July 2023, signed by Jennifer Bertino Tarrant, the Will County Executive, and attested by Lauren Staley Ferry, the Will County Clerk, and I so move.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Parker, seconded by Pretzel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to public comment. At this time, we invite anyone from the public to come up to speak on any agenda items only at this time. If you have comments regarding something on our agenda, please come up. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Matt Reuter. I'm a Will County resident, and I'm an attorney with Openlands. We are just found out about motion 13.1, a zoning change to allow for expanding the oil and natural gas, or oil.
All right,
and
we're going to have you
fossil-
hold on. This is for a land and use committee. We have a lot of public hearings at our meetings.
Okay.
So this one, you don't have to speak at this one. We'll call you back when we get back onto land use.
Okay.
Is this,
This doesn't,
it's not public hearing.
but
yeah.
this land hearing is an ordinance change.
Yes, but we're going to also have a public comment period during public hearing yeah.
I'm sorry, one more time. What?
So this is public comment for any issue on the agenda. But if you're going to talk substantively regarding a land use case, there's a public hearing for that.
Okay.
And so we would like all the comments so that everyone receives due process. Comments should be during the public hearing.
So I can't give a comment on your agenda item?
Well, you're going to come back up later in a couple minutes.
Gotcha. Okay. My mistake.
Yes.
I'll be back.
Okay. Yes. Please state your name for the record, and remind you also have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Alicia Morales. Welcome, everybody, to Joliet Township, which is the second highest populated township in the county, and it is also the one with the lowest median income. So we work very hard to serve the township. My colleagues, as elected officials, I understand today's public comment is for land use. I'm going to be very general, but it's very applicable to a lot of the things that we're going to hear about today. So as environmental stewards that you all are, as elected officials, your leaders, thank you very much for the service that you do. Thank you for serving the public. Remember, this is who you're serving, is the public, okay? We are people, environmental stewards are people who are active in environmental aid and work hands-on in cases where decisions that we all make sometimes go south, okay? And as environmental stewards, sometimes you have to work as a volunteer to help clean up oil after an oil spill, okay? Environmental stewardship includes civic action, which you're all very heavily involved in, community awareness, and positively impacting legislative decisions, which you're all about to make. It is not only the EPA who is responsible for protecting the environment. Environmental stewardship is the responsibility for environmental quality shared by all of us whose actions affect the environment. Just because it's been approved before, or just because it's been done that way, doesn't mean that we have to continue doing it that way. Okay, we are responsible for the protection of the natural environment through conservation and sustainable practices to enhance ecosystem resilience and human well-being for ourselves, for our neighbors, for our grandchildren that are going to be here when we're not here. That's my comment for today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. It doesn't look like we have any more public comments. So all resolutions and ordinance from the June 15th, 2023 board meeting have been signed and returned. At this time, under new business, we are going to be inviting Anna sitting up from Answer to give us a mid-year status on ARPA. I'm not sure we're going to be able to, can we pull up? I just don't, I'm not sure if our audio is, will it work here? Oh, I'm,
I'll have to plug it into the HDMI. The public can see, we can't see it.
So I am lost. Are we on old business?
we are now on new business. We're going to
I
talk,
didn't hear any mention of old business.
I just said all resolution and ordinance from the June 15th meeting have been signed and returned.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, because I don't have my hearing.
That's fine. No,
piece
that's
in.
fine. That's all we had.
I was just wondering if I could comment on old business.
I don't think you can because it's something that's not on the agenda.
Is it not?
It's not
old
on the
business?
agenda, yeah. You're more than welcome again during your comment time to, at the end of the board meeting to make your statements.
So, okay, so can I make a motion to suspend rules so that I can, I am making a motion to suspend rules to put forth a motion before the county board for a vote to adopt a non-binding resolution supporting the investigation of a potential adaptive reuse for the old Will County Courthouse building.
I'm going to let the state's attorney reply to your motion.
Do we have the courthouse on the agenda at all today?
There's nothing in the courthouse on this agenda at all.
I'm going to second it just so that we can discuss it.
Well, we can talk about it.
It's not old business. Yeah. All right, thank you. All right. Rules is different than.
The rules of county board do not supersede state law. So it's an Open Meetings Act issue, not a rules issue.
We need to have order here. You need to sit down and please be recognized. All right, we've moved on. We're on to new business, ARPA funding. You are on, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Anna Sitton. I'm here with Anzer Advisory, with the firm that has been retained by Will County in the implementation of the American Rescue Plan Act program. I'm going to be talking here today, sharing a mid-year update, answering questions, and sharing a little bit more about our timeline going forward through the end of 2023. Next slide. Yeah. Oh, I think someone else. Are you able to do it? Okay. Okay. So we are nearing the end of our Q2 expenditure period that ends July 31st of 2023. We are also preparing for submission of the annual performance report. All of that will be shared publicly and included on the website for reference. We do want to bring your attention to the dashboard, which is live. There's a link included here. We can also share that via email for those that would like to reference that dashboard. It outlines all of the areas, pillars, and program activity associated with each of those allocations. So I encourage you to check that out, share it with your residents and constituents as a source for them to refer back to on the program success and outcomes associated with the American Rescue Plan Act. A couple key level highlights: the health and economic development pillars have been fully obligated, and just about 10% of the total $134 million allocation is left to be identified for expenditure. Next slide. Next slide. I'm going to take you through each pillar, give a brief overview, and share a little bit about the progress of each of those. The unmet needs pillar was one that was identified by leadership and the executive committee to address the needs of local units of government throughout Will County that did not receive direct allocations from the American Rescue Plan Act, specifically those in that yellow largest category: parks, library districts, fire protection districts, and townships. They also identified, and what this board approved in June, the Laraway Communications Dispatch Center, the purchase of radio equipment to ensure that all 55 agencies across the county have the same equipment to respond to emergency situations and have that on the same frequency to ensure that emergency preparedness is efficient throughout the county. The Forest Preserve has been allocated $3.5 million for a total of 8 projects, 2 of which have been completed, and we are in the process of reimbursing. And then we do have a small portion there of just over $100,000, which does remain to be allocated, which we will talk more specifically about in the following slides. Next slide. Some key level highlights here. 99% of the fire protection districts have been issued their reimbursement. We just have 1 remaining that we are collecting final documentation from. And all the townships, library districts, and park districts are in the process of completing their projects, whether that be onboarding new staff, implementing programs, or in the process of their bid for a large-scale capital expenditure. The Forest Preserve, as I mentioned, has been issued just over $1 million for the completion of those 2 projects. If you'd like more specific information about that, I'd be happy to share. I know they were focused on Wayland Park and the Joliet Junction Trail, so 2 areas for key connection and addressing water retention issues. And then, as I mentioned, the Laraway Communications Center, I did meet with their director and confirmed that they expect to disperse those radios and purchase that equipment by the end of 2023. Next slide. So the board action, which we will bring back expected in August, is to allocate the remaining funds associated with this pillar. As I mentioned, as you can see here, 95% of the local units of government have responded or are in the process of utilizing their formula allocation. There's just 5% of those entities that have elected not to take the money or have not been responsive to multiple modes of outreach, both by answer advisory as well as county staff and elected officials within those districts. So we do have just under $400,000 remaining to allocate, with the understanding that it'll go toward the overarching theme of that pillar, support of local units of government or areas that did not receive a direct allocation for American Rescue Plan Act dollars. Leadership will be reviewing those opportunities and bringing them back for recommendations in August. As I mentioned previously, the health pillar has been fully obligated. We did have the open applications, which were closed in October and finalized in March. So those have all been issued and are in process of being executed and implemented. The UMAP initiative is working closely with United Way and the Health Department to implement food stabilization practices and support for local groups that distribute food. The Health Department received an allocation of $7.8 million to address programming, staffing, technology, and training within their department that were directly impacted as a result of the pandemic. The morgue, I understand, had a ribbon cutting yesterday, so is complete. I know, very exciting for the group here. That's been a lot of work going into that project. So that there was $1.6 million dedicated to the equipment within the morgue, and that will be processed over the next month or so. And then those last two there, the CAC has an allocation of $1 million, and Sunny Hill was granted a stipend through the county board, which has been processed. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the Sunny Hill stipend has been issued, and we expect to expend those ARPA dollars associated with the morgue equipment by the end of August. The Will County Health Department has ongoing program success with their expenditures. We have, as of July 10th, just under $500,000, and we've actually gotten a handful more requests for reimbursement for those programs. So they are up and running, and it is expected that they will utilize their allocation through the end of 2026. That's the way it was budgeted. So it will be kind of earmarked over those next 3.5 years. And then 100% of our subrecipients for the health program have responded to the request for the subrecipient grant agreement. Nearly all of those have been executed, and we are in the process of working with them on adjusting their budget, identifying their scope, and helping them in any technical aspects of implementing their program, working with them directly one-on-one, via email, meetings, etc., whatever support that they need to implement the project successfully and efficiently on behalf of Will County. Next slide. The economic development pillar, similarly to health, has been fully obligated. The Collegiate Collaborative is that program for teachers and nurses with 4 college partners within Will County: University of St. Francis, Lewis University, Joliet Junior College, and Governor's State. They have come together as a collaborative to support the initiative within Will County to bring more teachers and nurses to this area and educating them and ensuring that they have the skills and pipeline to work within Will County and address the critical shortage of those staff members as a result of the pandemic. The open application is what we most recently approved. We have issued all of those subrecipient grant agreements. We are missing just 8 of that entire pool, having ongoing communication with them, answering questions in regards to the criteria within the agreement. So expecting that to be rounded out by the end of August. And for those that have returned the information, we will be processing expenditure reimbursement for them and hope to have that again complete by the end of August for the lump sum payments for nonprofits and small businesses impacted by the pandemic. And finally, the Center for Economic Development was allocated $3.5 million, and they are expected to, again, similarly to the Health Department, roll out programming as a result of the impact of the pandemic through the next 3.5 years. We are going to be reporting on the quarterly expenditures and success of the college program. I do have preliminary numbers as of right now through the end of June. They had identified 50 students that were enrolled in the program, in the programs across those 4 colleges. It is expected to more formally kick off in the fall. The program went into place in March of 2023, so they had the opportunity to work with some students in the first semester of the year, a few students over the summer, but are expecting the bulk of those to be enrolled in the fall semester and going forward. They've had a great deal of interest and outreach from their local teacher and student population, local teacher and nursing population, and are working closely with workforce services, the local schools, and health partners to ensure that there's success in not only completing the program, but getting them to a position for student teaching and or clinicals to eventually work within the county. And then again, yep, perfect. Next slide. All right. This is so the infrastructure pillar is one that we have the greatest amount remaining to be allocated, as this was also the biggest pillar identified by the previous executive committee. We have issued all of the subrecipient grant agreements for the municipal projects, those that were allocated up to $500,000 each within each of the municipalities that submitted a project proposal. And they are in the process of working with our technical lead, our engineer program manager, in identifying issues with any permitting, scope, barriers to completing the project, talking through procurement and budgeting for each of those. So some are expected to be complete by the end of 2023. Based on the timing and the nature of these projects, most of them are expected to kick off and be completed in the construction season of 2024. So if you have any specific questions about a municipality or a district that you have a project within, be happy to talk in more detail around those and what to expect with each of those. Yes, Steve.
Wait, can we wait till at the very end? Let her finish. Are you done?
I can ask.
We're going to wait till
We'll
you're
do
done.
questions at the end.
We're going
is
to do
that-
very question. Hold, rate your question. We'll get it.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
And then the land use projects, those were identified and approved in the previous board meeting. There were 6 projects associated with the water, sewer, water, clean water, drinking water, which were outstanding deferred maintenance items identified by county's land use department. We are coordinating directly with the land use department to ensure that we have connections to those projects, working with them on identifying where they're at in their process and supporting them, and similarly in that scope, timeline, and budget development. And then that unallocated portion is just over 13.5 million, which will be reviewed with leadership and then brought back to county board in the next month or so. Scroll, please. Again, this is just reiterating the process that we are working with. Again, those projects are expected to kick off in part, most in part, in the construction season of 2024. Next slide. So as you can see, the recommendation going forward after bringing the additional project ideas to leadership is to select those that are not only eligible but also shovel ready. Due to the nature of these projects, they are often large scale and long term, and we want to make sure that they have a timeline which suits the expenditure deadlines outlined by U.S. Treasury. So these all do have to be expended by the end of 2026. We are targeting the end of September 2026 to ensure that there's time for closeout, reporting, and any last remaining items so that we do not miss any of those deadlines by the December 31st, 2026. So again, 13.5 million remaining. We will bring back project recommendations to this body expecting in August. And then finally, revenue replacement. This is a dedicated 10 million capped pillar, which was determined by U.S. Treasury. So it cannot exceed $10 million. It is intended for provision of government services normally carried out by the local unit of government, so Will County in this case. They had previously allocated for the ADF roof, which is in process, equipment, training, and staffing for the Information Communications Technology Group. And then the Children's Advocacy Center was dedicated just over $4 million and was under budget for the acquisition of that building. So that does leave us with a balance of just over $600,000, which again does have to be applied to an eligible provision of government service within the county. Thank you. Keep scrolling. So the recommendation for the remaining allocation here is to identify either through existing items, whether that be with capital projects or services, to allocate the remaining $617,000. Again, those ideas will be brought back to leadership, reviewed, and discussed in full with executive committee in August. So summarizing here, the remaining funds, I did want to bring to your attention that bottom one, the unidentified pillar, that was in a previous resolution allocated to admin, so that is actually balanced, zeroed out, so that is one that we will not address. We will primarily be bringing back unmet needs, revenue replacement, and infrastructure projects to complete the allocation and obligation of those funds by the end of this year. And at this time, I'll walk through the future timeline. So quite a bit of action in the next few months, August through September, to finalize the allocations of those projects. And then September through May of 2024, we have ongoing management of those projects, implementing programs, supporting them, and tracking and processing the expenditures. In June and July of next year, we will bring back projects that may need to have some additional support with those, or are not in a position to expend the funds that they had originally been allocated, to ensure that we have the second half of 2024 to reallocate or rededicate those funds to projects that are over budget or a B list, if you will, because again, U.S. Treasury requires that all funds are obligated, so assigned to a project by the end of 2024. So we are mindful of that time frame and wanting to make sure we have enough time to bring that feedback back to this group to ensure that any projects that need to be withdrawn and then reallocated are notified in a timely manner, and that we have an opportunity to discuss and identify remaining allocated dollars to obligate by the end of 2024. So at this time, I'm happy to take questions.
Please press your lights if you have a question. Leader Ballage.
I have a question about the CED. Can you tell us exactly what they're asking for the money for?
Sure. So they have identified projects or programs, I should say, focusing on an overarching resiliency effort, specifically for long-range development and planning to address impacted businesses, small businesses within the county, and then focusing on equity and disadvantaged businesses that, again, were impacted by the pandemic, and supporting those.
Is that the revolving loan program we heard a couple months back?
No, I don't believe so.
So it's not a loan program?
It is not.
Okay.
County Board Member Berkowitz. Or, I'm sorry, were you done there, sir? All right. Yep. County Board Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Good morning, Anna. I've got a couple questions. For the unmet needs pillar, who were the 5% of government units that did not respond?
I would have to pull that list. I don't want to misspeak. And
can you please provide that to Kim and she can provide it to the county board?
Of course.
Thank you. And then with the health pillar, you didn't give us a breakdown of all the entities who received money. Have we given any money to St. Joe's Hospital? I know Silver Cross has received quite a bit, but what about St. Joe's?
Not to my knowledge directly.
I don't know what capacity I have, but I'd like to make the recommendation that we see if there's a way or any money left over that we can find out what their needs are, how we can support them and support them as well. Because recently there's been more attention on the hospital, and I think, you know, we've been very supportive of Silver Cross, and I think it would be very helpful for the, you know, the citizens of Will County if we also support that hospital, whether it be staffing, expenditures to operate the hospital, whatever it is. I'd like to have that considered. Then the other thing, for the CED, the money that we have already given them or in other programs, do we get some type of a quarterly report?
Yes.
Where that money's spent? Can that be provided to the county board members?
Yes, absolutely. So the quarterly report has expenditures and data collected for the outcomes of that project associated with those.
Okay.
So yes, that will be made available. It's not terribly exciting at this point. It has been primarily for unmet needs at this point. We will start to see much more activity going into Q3 and forward because we have allocated all of those dollars and the projects are being kicked off at this point.
So if you could send anything you've already received, send it over to Kim, and then Kim can distribute it to the full county board. Thank you, I appreciate that. Then the last thing is the infrastructure pillar. 13 million unallocated. I have, Meta and I have a issue in our district, which is escalating. We could really use a road improvement. And there is an excellent project that I have in our own district. So I don't know the process, how to get this going, but I'd like to bring that forward.
I can.
It
you can share that
impacts,
information.
And I just let her, I wouldn't respond and make it, because I think County Board Member Chair Gala is going to
Okay.
address some of your.
Okay.
great.
Sure.
Thank you, Anna.
Yes.
All right. County Board Member, or Chair Gala.
Thank you. So for anybody who wants to see all the details for every single pillar as to who got money allocated to them, if you go to the dashboard, there's a link in your packet. We can also email it. There's not a link in the packet. Okay. The link doesn't work. Sorry about that. We'll send out the email, an email with the link in it. It's really good because it shows each pillar individually. You can click on it. You can see every single entity that was approved for funding. So you can see that in there. So when you're asking, like, did St. Joe, you can look and see if they had got it, because it's hard for Anna to remember every single person that got it. And then as far as the remaining funds, as Anna said, we're going to be looking at this through leadership, how much money is everywhere. We might do a resolution to put it all into one bucket. We haven't had that full conversation. And then suggestions as to how we would move forward spending these dollars. And we will reach out to you guys for input on that as well. It's just not going to be leadership doing it. We will come up with ideas, the three of us, and we'll present them to you. If you have something else, then you can bring that forward, okay? Thank you.
County Board Member Freeman. You did.
Thank you. County Board Chair Ogalla just answered my questions. I was just curious if we could reallocate the money to different pillars, and she just kind of answered that for me. So thank you.
Member Trenier.
Thank you, County Executive. Ms. Sitton, my question is regarding the CED, the funds that were given to them. What kind of report will we get on that particular portion of the ARPA fund?
Sure. So that will include businesses that they supported or jobs that were created or employees supported. It depends on the program. So job training, the outcome may be who gained that full-time employment. Small business planning or support, it would be associated with that small business. Those are the two overarching themes of those. If there's more detailed information that you are looking for, I'm happy to discuss further. But off the top of my head, those are the two overarching items.
So would that be like a part of the quarterly report, and
Yes.
that would be on the dashboard, that level of detail?
Yes, we can incorporate that quarterly report, a link to that each quarter for everyone's reference.
Great. Yeah, I clicked on the slideshow and there was no activity on my iPad. So
Okay.
I can only assume that the link somehow in the upload
Yes.
offloaded.
Okay, I will make sure that link to Chair Ogala's point.
And
will be
then
shared.
on slide number 23, it talks about you're sharing a list of projects which are unable to expend their award, so subrecipients may be notified and given a formal notification of withdrawal, and that is to happen as soon as 12 months from now. Some of these recipients haven't even barely signed their recipient grant. Who created this particular timeline? I don't recall that being the date. I thought it was going to be the end, they had until the end of 2025, and then in 2026, we had to have the money all spent, so obviously there would be some reallocation. This seems to me to be at least 6 months and maybe as many as 12 months premature.
So this is primarily focused on those that have made no progress on their existing allocation, whether that be non-responsive, non-compliant, because we do have to obligate or allocate all of the funds by the end of 2024.
Right.
So for example, if a project, a health program recipient says, we can't execute this program, we thought we would be able to hire a staff member, or we thought we would be able to implement this new program, it's just not going to happen. That would be a case where we work more closely with them to see if we can put together a work plan for them to be successful. And then if they truly cannot meet that benchmark, that is an opportunity then where we would bring it back to the group to say, do we want to move forward? And if so, how so? Or is that one that needs to be withdrawn and reallocated?
It doesn't phrase it that way in here. It
Sure.
says very clearly, you will be given a formal notification of withdrawal. And at no point in this language does it say if you've spent none of your money. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it just seems very cut and dry. On July of 2024, we're taking your money back if you haven't spent it all. And that, to me, seems a bit premature. And again, I would maybe reconsider the wording. Thank you.
County Board Member Diaz?
Yes, I just want to thank you, Julie, for wanting to support St. Joe's Hospital and their financial woes that they may be undergoing. I appreciate that. And also, Judy, you answered my other question I had. Thank you.
County Board Member Revis?
So you mentioned the money going to like Joliet Junior, Lewis, St. Francis, and Governor State. That was for training nurses and teachers.
Yes.
So not that I'm coming in late with like these issues with the process, but like how were those two professions picked? Was there anything devoted out of these funds for like police officer training or police officer recruitment, things of that nature, or anything to support local police departments?
In regards to this training program?
Not that training program, but more broadly the funds.
And I'm going to interject for you
Okay.
there too, because again, you have to remember, she's putting together a program that the county board has frameworked for them.
Sure.
So at that time, the previous board and leadership decided to focus on nursing and education simply because of the shortage of those two professions. It wasn't, policing was not ignored specifically, it was just a specific program towards providing education. And I think probably County Board Member Mueller may be able to better direct why they came up with those two.
Actually, in the brainstorming of, the year we spent trying to assess all the needs of how this money could be spent, I believe that fell under the economic development pillar, and we were, the schools that are doing this came together with this plan for teachers and nurses. And so since it was under economic development, that was kind of how it fell. Plus, I believe there was already money going into other pillars for law enforcement and stuff. So it was just sort of a, where
Understood.
it fell best and what the.
So this is the second prong of my question. One of your slides said board action. It was like just a little bit over $600,000 on how we have to determine how to allocate. Is that correct? Something to that
Yes, for the
effect?
revenue replacement.
Okay, so could like some funds from that be used for example, police officer recruitment, retention, things like of that nature?
So revenue replacement specifically is reserved to Will County's provision of government services. To my understanding, the only department that falls under that in regards to your question is the sheriff. But I'd look to anyone to correct me on that.
So maybe something for the sheriff then, to that extent would be acceptable?
Yes, it would very much so depend on the expenditure, but yes, it could be.
Thank you.
All right, that looks like all our questions. Oh, Connie, all right, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you. Anna, so when we get to the end of this, if we do have some funds left, what happens with those dollars?
Sure. So any funds left over, we would want to work with the board and leadership to ensure that we allocate as much as we can. Of course, and to Member Trenier's point, having a timeline in place, a formal process, which we can more clearly define for the group, identifying steps to be taken for those that are non-compliant or non-responsive to make sure that that money does get obligated. We are not expecting to have money left over after 2024. Of course, in the event projects, can't move forward after that point, we would have to look to Treasury and that guidance issued because the expectation is it's all obligated by 2024.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, and appreciate all the effort you put into the slide presentation. I know it's gathering, leadership wanted to gather everything into one spot. Unfortunately, that link didn't work for the dashboard, but we'll get that corrected. Yes. That'll be okay. And hearing the questions everyone has, I'll work with leadership so we can more fully inform or ask questions of the rest of the board so that you can help us get there. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. We're going to now move on to land use and development. Chair Pretzel.
Thank you, Madam Executive. I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing for all land use cases.
Second. Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Trenier. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Yes. Trainier. Yes. Dean Schlottman. Yes. Van Dyne. Yes. Pretzel. Yes. Butler. Yes. Newquist. Yes. Richmond. Yes. Parker. Yes. Williams. Yes. Diaz. Yes. Freeman. Yes. Revis. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Ortiz. Yes. Berkowitz. Yes. Mueller. Yes. Costa. Yes. Ogala.
17 affirmative. We are now in public hearing. Please be advised, absolutely no new evidence or information will be allowed once this land use public hearing is closed. So we'll now invite folks to come up. I think this gentleman, we're going to let this gentleman go right here first. Please state your name when you come up and what case number.
For open lands. I want to discuss, or at least find out more information potentially on agenda item 13.1. That's a zoning change, I believe from A1 to I1. I'm kind of surprised that I didn't know anything about this. It says here on the agenda that due notice of time and place of the committee hearing was provided. Can anyone tell me when that actually was?
This is your time for your comments, sir.
Yeah, I'm making them. Can anyone tell me how how that notice was given. So I don't know if proper notice was actually given, because nobody seems to know when that committee hearing was or when the notice was given. So I really question whether or not proper procedure was followed in this case. But that's just one of my concerns. I do also find it tragically poetic that in the summer with global temperatures reaching record levels, you're actually looking at expanding infrastructure for fossil fuels. It seems like the world is going away from fossil fuels, yet we're going to devote and invest land that's going to be committed long-term for fossil fuel infrastructure. And not only that, but it's taking it out of agriculture. So, yeah, we talk about energy security, but what about land security? We just passed a resolution that I fully agree with, that it was for July being park and rec time, and I think that's great. Yeah, there is a lot of community benefit to having these parks. This zoning change takes land out of potential park land, and it allows for an infrastructure that could damage a nature preserve. So having this resolution, this zoning change today, it's kind of poetic, and I hope the irony is not lost. But anyway, I would also point out that the committee apparently in some hearing said that there was no objection from agencies, and they list the agencies. I did not see if Fish and Wildlife Service was an agency consulted, despite the fact that IDNR did defer to that agency for several protected species in the area. So I'd really have a lot of unanswered questions here on this project. Why is it I-1? Low impact industry that has low visual, low operational impact, yet we're talking 40 acres of a pipeline and barge terminal that carries fossil fuels. So again, a lot of unanswered questions. So I would ask that at the very least, a hearing be scheduled, a committee hearing be scheduled so we can actually hear more of the facts of this case. But it seems more appropriate just to deny the motion altogether and keep it in A1.
I'm sorry, and your name was again, sir, so we can have for the record?
Sure, Matt Ruder.
Thank you.
R-U-H-T-E-R. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, and public. My name is Dave Nelson. I'm the president of Ducere, and we're presenting a case, the zoning case 23023 for approval today. I want to first mention the folks that are here to support the project today. In the past, we haven't really felt that we needed to make this clear. I've made it clear in my comments, but I want to go ahead and ask the folks that are here to support the project to stand up and just remain standing as I go through. The first folks I want to bring forward is the Will County Trades. There's a bunch of trade members here that I appreciate their support. We're going to use the skilled workforce of Will County to build the project, and they're well qualified for that. We have the president of Seaways, which is a barge and leasing company back here, and the expert in the Midwest, certainly in inland waterway on barging. American Commercial Barge Line, there's a representative. They're headquartered in Jeffersonville, Indiana. They have some local operations throughout the inland waterway. He came up in support of it. Their local affiliate is Northern Marine. The president of Northern Marine is here. And that's a local business. The president, CEO of Midwest Tankermen is here. The Midwest Tankermen are the folks that actually load barges, and they operate throughout the Midwest on the inland waterway, actually all the way down to Louisiana. That's based in Lockport. Great that we have that resource right here. And not in my opinion, I've got family members here my wife and daughter, and I don't know, my son seems to have run off. But anyway, they've been on this journey for me for 12 years. So, and through a lot of public hearings, a lot of press, and so I'm still amazed if anybody was interested. They certainly would have heard about this project for quite some time. So, what I will say is this project is part of the core reason for the energy transition. We're really hoping to minimize impact, and we think we will dramatically reduce impact on the environment. We think the folks that we've got here supporting and will work on the project will minimize that impact, and there's plenty of support to make sure we do exactly that. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. I won't belabor it. The last board meeting, we covered a lot of issues, and I know other folks have other opinions, but we work on this for a long time, and we know we've got the right answer for Will County and the state of Illinois.
Is there clarifying questions that you have for the speaker? County Board Member Trenier?
Thank you, Madam Executive. Yes, Mr. Nelson, just a couple points I just want to be clear on. I read in the paper yesterday, Citgo was fined $4 million for some of their pollution in our area, specifically the Lamont Citgo refinery, which, by the way, my neighbor, who I love dearly, her husband, he works there and has provided a good income for their family for many, many, many years. So, and I understand fossil fuels are necessary. Is the oil that you're going to ship on the barge from Citgo or from Shell? Because I've heard like different stories, and then I've also heard that the oil actually does come off the Enbridge pipeline. I don't even know who owns what's in that pipeline. I do know there's probably 500,000 miles of pipeline in Will County, and I'm exaggerating, but there's a lot for various things. So is this Shell oil, Citgo oil, or is it Enbridge oil?
So the oil will be by shippers. The oil, physically, we're going to connect off oil that's coming down the Enbridge system, and it will go through other connecting pipes into our terminal. The oil comes out of both North Dakota and Canada. The owners are shippers, so all your oil companies may be shippers. So Citgo may be a shipper, ExxonMobil, Shell, their trading company, they don't have any operations, but most of the oil that is shipped by refineries from either North Dakota or Canada. So they'll buy it up at the entry to the pipeline, and then they'll ship it down, and they'll go through our terminal.
Thank you. That's helpful to know, because I've heard some people make comments that this is owned by a specific oil company. Doesn't sound like that's the case. You're going to ship for whoever would like you to.
Yes,
right?
whoever wants to use the services will ship.
And I also learned that certain kinds of oil has to be processed at certain kinds of refineries. You can't just process it at a particularly local refinery because of the type of oil it is. It gets moved around to the country, not necessarily only for specific kind of oils to specific refineries, but also it gets moved around because, well, the refinery doesn't have the capacity to do more oil. And so they need to send it elsewhere to get it refined. Would that be a correct statement?
It is. I mean, the refineries buy the oil that kind of works for their particular facility, so that's correct.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear on those facts. Thank you.
County Board Member Butler.
So are we transporting mainly crude oil?
Yes.
Okay. And when you say fossil fuels, is that a correct description of crude oil?
It is a fossil fuel, yes.
Is it considered a fossil fuel? Is it made from dinosaur bones?
Oh, come on.
Oil.
Mr. Butler, can we
I just asked, I'm curious.
We need to ask questions that will help you make decisions.
This will help me make decisions.
So the oil is coming from mostly plant products, right? So it's plants that have, were living many millions of years ago and then have been covered up and then have become oil. So it's just it's mostly plant material.
County Board Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Madam Executive. I'm asking this question because this site is crashing. I can't open the agenda. I can't pull anything up on my iPad. When I was reviewing the package, and this is a question regarding a statement that I submitted.
And before you hold out there, do we have any printed copies of the agenda available that maybe we can get Ms. Berkowitz? So but go ahead, complete.
Yeah, so my question was, because this may be applicable also to what Mr. Nelson is sharing with us. There had been at land use a concern regarding the catastrophe with this type of a project. So I went and I spoke with EMA about, are there any?
Do you have a question for him? This is
Actually, it's more of a statement.
Then
so-
and
okay.
I'm going to say this, and because I see Destiny up there.
Okay,
This is
thank
a
you.
time to ask questions of the gentleman. This is for public comment, not county board members. You can't be both county board member and public. So I'm going to ask that you ask questions specifically to this project. You can make substance statements during the vote, and you'll be able to make your statements there as well. So I'm just letting you know this is for public comment. You are a county board member, and your statements can be made when we take the vote. Yes, you will, yeah, for this gentleman, okay. County Board Member Trenier and then Diaz.
Thank you. I got a call yesterday about something, and I did not have time last night to look through the packet to see if it was included in your application or in any of the staff comments. But I was told that your company will be removing at least one barge that has sunk in the canal, and that you will be removing the 2 silos that are kind of in a dangerous shape.
That's correct. There's actually five sunken barges in the waterway
I
right now.
could see 2 on the Google map. So you're going to take 5 out?
5 out there. There's a north and south property. We'll
Okay.
take 5 out.
And you're
and
going
then
to
the
take
silos
down
are
the
coming down.
silos.
Correct.
That are a danger really to anybody that might
Yeah,
be
the biggest
trespassing.
danger today is that kids climb up there and spray paint the top in the middle of the night. So that's a
Okay.
safety danger.
Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that because I didn't get that directly from you at any point, and I wanted to make sure that that was not just something somebody said, but that it was a fact. Thank you.
So you have a question, County Board
Yes.
Member Diaz? Okay, thank you. Oops, turn it off.
There it goes. Quick question. I want to confirm so that everyone else can hear what I understood when I met with Mr. Ducere. We went on a little tour along with Destiny and the gentleman, Leo, thank you. I'm horrible with names, I'm sorry. I want to make sure that we go back to the double pipeline issue, because I want to make sure that everybody understands it. And my final understanding was you're going to drill the hole, you're going to put the slick pipeline in, then you're going to put the permanent pipeline in, and then the slick pipeline gets removed. Is
So
that correct?
We're going across 2 canals, right? So
Right.
And I think last meeting there was a bit of confusion. I think that we're talking about different canals. There's the I&M Canal, the one that's been there since the mid-1800s. That one we're going to open cut and drop a pipe within a pipe. So it's going to be a concrete exterior pipe and a steel pipe inside it. So that will be through the I&M Canal, through underneath the sanitary and chip canal. We'll drill a hole and it'll be smoothed out, and that hole is through the bedrock, the limestone bedrock, and that will be smoothed out, and then we'll put a pipe with a lot of lubrication on it and slide that pipe through that hole. So that will effectively, the pipe within a pipe will be essentially have a stone pipe around a metal pipe. So
that stone pipe is out of what is our current bedrock then?
Correct.
Which is limestone?
Correct.
Which, God forbid, if there is a leak, it's very poor, that's very, very porous, and it could go into our drinking water. I want everyone to understand that.
We had a study done on that topic, and it takes an extraordinarily long time for oil to move through that bedrock. By the study experts, we're talking sort of decades to move any distance at all. So in addition, we'll have leak detection, and we'll be testing that pipe on a regular basis to make sure it works. So I think all the experts I have, I think that's it's not likely to cause anything like you're talking about.
I understand, not likely, but not impossible, and that is also above our water table, correct?
I'm sorry,
The pipeline that will go in, it would
Yeah.
be above the water table?
in general, yes.
Thank you.
County Board Member Newquist?
Thank you. I remember at the land use committee meeting, you mentioned monitoring, and just so I make sure I'm correct on this, you are going to be doing automated constant monitoring of the pipeline. Is that, did I understand that correctly or
That's
not?
correct, yeah. There's pressure monitors on it continuously, and if there's any anomaly there, we go check it out.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Member Ortiz, I'm going to remember that you are a county board member at this time, not a member of the public. And so you can make your substantive content during the vote. So there'll be time for a motion, a second, you can make your comments then. If you have a specific question, you'll have to be from your seat, so.
I was told that I had to present during public hearing anything that I needed to present evidence-based.
This is not, I don't, evidence-based, and I'll let Mary direct her why, I know that was said yesterday, and I'll let Mary explain why your comments that you want to have entered into his record is different than evidence that you're providing, all right? So, go ahead.
So if you have evidence regarding the specific site or specifically regarding this application, that's done during public hearing. If you have evidence over a general policy that you wish the county to adopt, which may affect this policy, this specific site, then that's something that's done outside of public hearing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know what you have in front of you.
Okay, can I just say it now? I mean, I was told.
I'm going to
yesterday
keep
and
order,
today.
no, I am not going to do this. We are going to keep protocol here. We will respectfully listen to you, County Board Ortiz, during the discussion, so. She's sitting as, okay, we're all public citizens, but we have elected officials here trying to run a meeting. I'm not going to allow it. It is my decision, and you can find fault with me later, but I will give you this time to do it. I am not, we have not always allowed. You are elected a county official, and you are certain in this capacity. She is not going to lose her right. She's going to have time to speak at her seat, that you have an additional right that our public does not have it. And so we are going to, I've made a decision. We are moving on. If you're going to speak, I'm not putting this mic up. Yeah.
So we don't know what that is. I don't know what.
You know, I guess when I decided to be an elected official, I decided to, what we do as govern is by laws and written language. And I am following the written language that you folks have voted on in regards to rules, state statute that other people have written, and our ordinances. I am just trying to keep order. We are not denying Member Ortiz to speak. She has an opportunity that many other people in this room do not. She gets to vote. And she's going to be able to speak on her issue during the vote.
Does Member Ortiz have the right to make a public comment right now during the public hearing regarding this case?
So what I have always said is if a member has information specific to the project that they are presenting, or whether they have a question specific to the project, that should be done during the public hearing. If they have general information regarding setting county policy that is not property specific, that should be outside the public hearing.
All right, so I know Destiny, and I'm positive that.
We all know Destiny. We too. So don't, I mean, we're not trying to say we don't know, and I'm not saying she's going to do anything wrong. I'm just trying to keep us how the process is going to do. We're supposed to follow the process. No, it does not. I'm reading what you wrote in your rules that we vote on.
Well, the only reason why I want to talk now is because they told me that I can't vote no if I didn't say why I was going to vote no. during
Absolutely
public
not.
hearing.
That is not what was
That's what I
said.
was told.
No,
If I can-
no,
if
that
I
is
can
absolutely
make my
not.
comment and then vote a certain way, then that's fine. I'll have a seat.
County Board Member Ortiz, anybody can vote how they choose to vote. No one is saying you can't vote yes or no on things. No, I'm saying the same thing. Okay. All right, do we have any other member from the general public who wish to speak today? Should I
Yeah. All right, my name is Destiny Ortiz. I'm a resident of,
Let's get this all on record. Why don't we take a recess? I'll look at what you have to say, see if it's substantive to this topic. Otherwise, you'll wait till outside the hearing to talk about policy questions with regard to the county. You will be given the opportunity to speak. It's just a matter of when. It's not if.
Yeah, we're going to take a 10-minute recess so we can review. So we are going to follow up, but I guess I want to start with a comment here. I can assure you that I am not trying to stifle anyone's opinions, comments. Everyone has a right to talk. We are not here to dictate how folks vote, but we have a procedure. And once we set a precedent, it becomes something that we have to follow. And I can't at this time say, oh, we're going to give an exception to one board member and the next board member. Now we have at public comment 22 board members now wanting to speak because they feel that if they don't say what they have at a certain time, that their vote has to change. And that is not the case. So I understand that County Board Member Ortiz has a specific question for our last speaker. We're going to ask Mr. Nelson to please come back up here and she can address her questions. And then other who have comments or longer statements, once the vote is motioned, second, we will have discussion and you will be able to have make your comments at that time. So at this time, Member Ortiz. You're on.
Hi, yes, Mr. Nelson, do you know if this project is going to be planned in an environmental justice area? Okay, thank you.
You here to comment now in public hearing as well? Oh, okay, that's fine, that's fine. And just a reminder to please state your name and. No, no address.
Hi, my name is Sandy Brzezinski. I live in Lockport. I'm also one of the directors of a local not-for-profit environmental group called CARE, Citizens Against Ruining the Environment. This project is actually going to be right across from one of the oldest neighborhoods in Lockport. I just I have some questions, but I wanted to bring up something very important. The way this was basically announced to the public. I don't know what you guys are doing or what kind of laws, you talk about laws, but the way this was done, you better change this law. The way we were notified, or people were supposedly notified, which were not, was on a bridge. There's that old 9th Street Bridge. Nobody, if you're not familiar with Lockport, nobody really goes on that bridge. And on that bridge is where Hanson Material usually has their trucks, so nobody thinks about it. On this bridge, there's no trespassing signs. You go on the bridge, you go around to this proposed DeSere site. On their property is a small sign towards the bottom of the road, and there's weeds that announce this public hearing, public meeting. How is this acceptable? How can you look yourselves in the face and say that we did everything we could to notify the public? In my opinion, this is a travesty. This is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. I mean, you want to talk about laws. How do you sit up here and say you represent the people when you put something like that out there where nobody can see it? I went over the 9th Street Bridge. I go over the 9th Street Bridge all the time, going and coming back on both sides. I never seen anything. Well, because you can't. You literally have to go on this bridge, and then to top it all off, there's no trespassing signs you see. So who's going to go on the bridge to go further in to their property to see a sign that's pretty much at ground level in weeds? Somebody can answer that, because I'm telling you, in my opinion, this is a violation. If I had the resources, I would file a lawsuit. But unfortunately, I don't know if that's what you're counting on. I don't have resources to file a lawsuit. Probably nobody in my neighborhood. It's not a wealthy neighborhood. It's a working class neighborhood. Has the monetary means to do something like this. But this is totally, totally unacceptable. The other thing, you talk about the pipelines. I want to know, is Enbridge a shipper? What is coming in that pipeline? Before you make your decision, make sure you know. He mentioned Canada, and he mentioned North Dakota. Canada, you're dealing with tar sand. I don't know if any of you are familiar with tar sand oil, bitumen. It's not a good thing. It's corrosive. North Dakota is the Bakken. It's the fracking oil. Fracking oil has chemicals in it that are also very dangerous and very volatile. So the question I want to ask, I don't know if you guys even know, or Mr. Hansen, where is this pipeline? Where is this oil coming from? You're bringing oil not only through my neighborhood, you aren't, the city of Lockport okayed this, but it will continue on underneath that Chicago Sanitary Ship Canal. And then there's going to be tanks. And I believe they're using tanks out at the old Shell tank farm. Where is this coming from? To say that, oh, there's this pipeline, that pipeline. Before you vote on this, know what's coming through that pipeline. Because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when something happens. So I would like an answer from somebody. What exactly is coming through this? Is Enbridge a shipper? And where is it coming from? Is it coming from Canada? Is it coming from North Dakota? Because as I stated in the last meeting, there were letters that I uncovered between Mr. Nelson and I believe it was the Energy Secretary, whatever, of Canada. So somebody has to answer this question, and I would ask you to please know this before you vote in favor of this. I don't know if, can anybody answer my question? This is a public hearing. I was told a public hearing is the time to get your questions and comments. All I'm hearing is crickets. Does anybody answer the question about what's coming through that pipeline?
Yes, ma'am, that question is for the property owner. These are county board members, and they're not going to have that answer for you.
Well, he's the gentleman's here from Dusair.
Would you like to come back up, sir? Okay. Yeah. Okay, are you done? Well, let's put it this way. Are you done with your comments or questions?
No, I'm not done.
So why don't we just say, we're going to let it, and so then you can come back up, and if you want,
Okay,
we'll respond.
well, Mr. Nelson, I would get a pencil and pen because I've got some other questions. You talk about it was brought up the pipeline is going under the Chicago Sanitary Ship Canal. Was any type of a geological done concerning underneath there? Because I know under the old Chevron Texaco, and I'm assuming under there, yeah, it's bedrock and it's going to be covered in concrete. But guess what happens if concrete's in water with our extreme temperature changes? What happens? Does everybody know what happens to concrete? Guess what? If there's a crack, water, hot, cold, depending on temperature, it cracks. Underneath that, I believe, is fractured bedrock. Now, where is this stuff in the event? And I believe it's not a question of if, it's a question of when this leaks. Where is that going? Guess what? It's going to be going in your water supply. The other thing is, as far as Mr. Nelson and Dusair, how long are they going to be involved in this project? Are they basically laying the groundwork, getting all the permits, getting everything voted on, and then making your money and goodbye? And if he comes back or they come back and state, we're going to be there for 10 years or 12 years or whatever, do you have it signed? Do you have this incorporated in the permit? Because if he's telling you things and you're believing everything, if you don't have anything and concrete proof to back everything up and everything signed, sealed, and delivered, when all of this goes south, I don't want to hear, well, this is what he said. No, where is the documentation and the signature backing this up? The other thing, are barges held to the same safety standards as ships or any other carrying oil products? Do they, that's one. I already touched upon this as far as what types of oil and jobs. I've been told that there are, now I've been told that a lot of these are temporary jobs. Now I've been told, I guess Mr. Nelson is stating that there's a lot more jobs connected with this. Do you have this in writing? Are these jobs that are going to benefit Will County residents? Are these all these people that live for the jobs? Do they all live in Will County? What is this bringing to Will County? one of the biggest things for me is liability and insurance. Where's the liability in the insurance? Mr. Nelson has stated he's got a construction insurance policy for $100 million for construction. What about environmental? Do we have environmental insurance? In the event there's a leak, there's a catastrophic failure, who's going to be held accountable and responsible? The taxpayers of Will County? Considering that you didn't notify many of the taxpayers of Will County, but when this goes south, they're going to have to pick up the tab. You know, I have so many, I am just so frustrated with this county board. You have no idea. I thought that you guys were here representing me. I've been told we've had meetings. We've had all these meetings. Basically, where were you? I thought I was there. I've got 2 county board members that represent my district. I thought they were, I assumed at least they're kind of looking out for me. Well, just like the EPA, guess what, people? I tell everybody out there, nobody's looking out for you. You're looking out for yourself. This is the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. You just had a 10-minute recess. One of your county board members wants to speak, whether it's Destiny Ortiz or any county board member, should have the opportunity to speak. I understand
Can we please speak to the
I
project?
understand, but
Okay,
here's the
thank
thing
you.
that I have a problem with. You have rules and regulations. I understand. I understand you have to follow that. But rules and regulations are supposedly ruled by these people out here. And when at the last meeting I was at the zoning, you want to talk about a travesty, none of the microphones worked, which again, in my opinion, is a violation. And Destiny Ortiz was knocked down trying to ask questions of Mr. Nelson. 4 times maybe, there was a vote. No, we want to basically shut her up. I will tell you this. You know what kind of message you people are sending?
All right. I think, can we please have you wrap up your comments,
Yes.
please, about the project? Thank you.
And as usual, let me wrap up my comments because I'm not Mr. Nelson, so I don't have the opportunity to get up here
No,
and
ma'am,
talk.
he was answering questions.
That's my way of thinking. I just want to reiterate. Oh, the one other question I want to reiterate: what kind of oil is coming through there? What kind of oil is going in the tanks? But I also want to ask, besides your smart pigs, what other safety measures are in place on that pipeline? Are you going to have any type of remote shutoff valves? All right, I think that is it. I would like to hear from Mr. Hanson, but I also want the opportunity to rebut depending on what he says. And I think in a public hearing, I should have that right.
Thank you. County Board Member Trenier.
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Nelson come up. I actually have some follow-up questions based on.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and would you prefer that all our comments come up first so you can write down their questions and then
Sure.
let him come up at the end?
That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
can-
So we're
I
just
can
going to
wait.
have you sit, we'll let everyone make their comments, and then you can create your list of follow-up questions for Mr. Nelson. Please state your name.
Good morning. My name is Tracy Panapino. I'm a Will County resident. I did go and look for the signage that was supposed to notify the public of this hearing today. First of all, it was only 2 days ago that I learned that the road that used to be back, for people that have been in this area for 50 and 60 years, it used to be the bridge over the canal, that was a public road. The signs at the front of the street say that it's material service and several other industries, and that's the way it looks. But I drove down there anyway. There are no trespassing signs. They're actually, I believe, for the waterway. But the first one that you come to is turned so it looks like it's no trespassing on the roadway. If you continue, if you go past the no trespassing sign on what appears to be a private road, you will see the notice of public hearings. but you can't see them from the first sign on the bridge. The postings might have been done to the letter of the law, but I'm sure it wasn't done in the intent of the law. I'm going to change direction for a second because I want to talk to you about the U.S. Postal Service because I worked there for 41 years.
Is this related to?
Yes, it is.
It is related to this project?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The internet's been around since the 90s, and it was going full steam in the early 2000s. 2006, the Postal Service saw its highest mail volume ever. It went and decided to spend $1.3 billion on a flat sequencing system, or FSS. For those of you that don't know, a flat is an oversized mail piece. It's usually a catalog, a magazine, a newspaper. Sometimes it's a single page. $1.3 billion, they remodeled their plants, they expanded them, they spent all this money on a contract for 100 machines. By the time the last of the machines were being installed, they were pulling the first ones out of the plants. Not because they didn't work, they worked great. They did it because there were no more flats. They had put all these resources into an obsolete product. We all know that gas and oil's day is coming to an end. The best estimates are 50 years. 2023 is seeing oil as flats, catalogs, newspapers, and magazines. You made a proclamation at the beginning of this meeting about parks and recreation. It's Mr. Van Dyne, wherever he is, there he is, spoke, expounded on the necessity of pristine places for human beings to enjoy. Yet you are opening up the Des Plaines River, the Lockport Prairie, additional conservation areas further downriver to potential degradation due to spills, explosions, all those joys that come with oil. I have an Enbridge pipeline that runs through my property. Mr. Nelson spoke of smart pigs and anomalies. Enbridge is diligent in addressing anomalies. Sometimes every year they address anomalies, which involves digging up the pipeline, removing contaminated dirt, repairing the pipeline. You're talking about a pipeline going through a residential area. Our natural ecosystems are being put in jeopardy. I find that unacceptable, especially for what is quickly becoming an obsolete product. Please do not okay this project.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jennifer Garlitz. My last name is spelled Garlitz. I live in Joliet. I'm in District 6. I'm commenting on number 23023. I have a number of concerns about the proposed tar sands oil pipeline and barge terminal. First of all, with just some research on this, tar sands oil pipelines leak more than conventional crude oil pipelines, and that's because the oil is more corrosive than the crude oil that's just pumped straight up out of the ground. The tar sands are very detrimental to the First Nations people who live in Canada, because it's kind of like, if you can imagine strip mining, that's kind of the process that's gone through with tar sands oil mining. And so vast areas are, the trees are cut down, the water supplies are harmed. So I think we do need to think not just about ourselves, but about the rest of the world. Like I said, the tar sands oil is more corrosive. It's more likely to leak out of pipes. So that's a major concern. The problem, as already mentioned, with the oil leakage is that there's risk to underground aquifers, which is our water supply, risk to rivers, risks to well water, which many of your people are on well water in our area. Also, the project goes against CEJA, which is the Clean Energy Jobs Act, which was passed by the state of Illinois. This Clean Energy Jobs Act was enacted to move our state to clean, renewable energy that we need to stop climate change. Climate change is not something 10 years ago we were saying, oh, maybe it's in the future. We don't need to worry about it. Well, we are living in climate change right now. We are living in it. And if we don't do something a lot more, if a whole lot of people don't do a whole lot more, you know, we're just going to get more wildfire smoke, more severe storms, more flooding, more droughts all around the world. I think our area has been relatively unscathed compared to other parts of the country and compared to Canada and Mexico right now. We need, so CEJA, the other thing I wanted to say about, I wanted to talk about jobs, because by far, the new energy jobs that are being created in the United States, by far, it's renewable energy that's driving that job growth. And we need, and so when it comes to jobs, if we're going the direction of clean renewable energy sources, we're going to create more jobs. That's the trend. And, okay. So I think when it comes to climate change, we need to not only think about our own quality of life, we also need to think about the quality of life of our children and grandchildren. And we need to stop being so short-sighted. We really do. This project is not a benefit to Will County or Illinois, because the oil, when it gets to its destination in the Gulf of Mexico, it's going to be exported to other states and other countries. It will not lower our gas prices. We don't have a benefit from this. I mean, we get Will County, an environmental justice area, we get the risk. We get the risk to our water supply. We're risking our water supply. We're risking our beautiful natural areas. We're risking that with no benefit to us. We don't get a benefit. Or, you know, the money that's being made is, you know, the oil is, it's not going to lower our gas prices because the oil is being sold to other states and other countries. And so I think there's just so many things that we need to look at here that are very serious concerns. And so I want to thank you for letting me speak today. I appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Ardis Doolan, and I'm a Will County resident, and I really have some questions for the board. We used to elect the best and the brightest and expect them to work in our favor. When something would come up, we expected them to research it. So when the members of the community came and asked questions, the board would be able to answer our questions. We knew full well that they weren't all going to agree on stuff. So-and-so would like this, so-and-so would like that, fine. But we would expect them to do the research and know what they're voting on, what the issue is all about. And I'm not seeing that with this board. It's not your job to know. What is your job? Are you just supposed to sit and listen to someone come in and give you a pretty spiel with a nice PowerPoint presentation and accept it at face value? Or are you going to do a little bit of digging into the subject and find out more about it? You might still go, whoa, this is the best thing that ever happened. But you might also start to stop and think a little bit. That's all I have to say.
All right, so County Board Member, oh, I'm sorry, is there anyone else who has a public comment? Because we're going to call Mr. Nelson back up here because County Board Member Trenier is going to do some follow-up questions. Is that Ms.? Are you, is anyone else speaking there? No. Okay, okay. We're still in, I'm talking, yeah, for public hearing, yeah, all right.
Again, Dave Nelson with Ducere. Sandy and I first met in, it was, I think 2017, at the City of Lockport public hearing for this matter. And
hold on, did you? I mean, we're gonna let County Board Member.
Oh, I'm
Trenier
sorry.
follow
You jump
up.
in
Yeah,
first. Okay, I'm
questions.
sorry.
Go ahead. She's.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask some questions on behalf of the residents and also for my own edification. There was the comment that some of this oil might be tar sand oil. Would you know that? Would you have any way to know that before it went through and onto a barge?
Some of it is from the oil sands area of Canada, correct. The oil sands are the second or third largest oil reserves on the planet. So we benefit here in the Midwest from accessing that oil instead of accessing Middle East oil, which I think if anybody's been around a while, there's been a few issues in the Middle East. So we have a huge benefit from the fact that oil is there and is a resource that fuels most of the Midwest and has for many years.
And then to the question of fracking oil, is any of the oil that would be coming through there?
Yes,
due
North
to
Dakota
fracking?
oil is much of the growth of North Dakota they discovered oil in North Dakota in the 50s, been producing it for many years, and that was more conventional methods at about 100,000 barrels a day. Now they're up about 1 million barrels a day in the North Dakota production, and a lot of that growth is using the fracking technology.
And then just two more brief questions. It was asked if Enbridge is a shipper.
No, they're
didn't think so.
They're a carrier.
They're a
Enbridge
carrier.
is not a shipper. And
Just wanted to make
will
sure.
not be a shipper of the oil.
And then are there any such things as remote shutoff valves? Or is it a situation where if you determine that there's a leak or a potential leak, you literally have to dig up that pipe?
No, there most definitely is remote shutoff valves, and we will have those. It's part of the pipe, the pipeline rules that have been developed over the years. So yes, there are remote shutoff valves.
Thank you very much. And I will now turn it back to our chair, Madam Executive.
County Board Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Several of the residents who have spoken and expressed their concerns, I have answers to their questions, and I'm sure that Mr. Nelson can also add to that, because this particular project is a part of these coalitions and these environmental intergovernmental pacts. So I would like to share, I did want this in the packet, but it's not in there. I checked the physical packet. It was sent out to county board members, but I don't know if they had the opportunity to see this. So I heard the concerns of the residents, And several
Okay,
members
so
of our own.
are we addressing, do we have any questions for this gentleman right now? We're gonna still stay on
no.
track. Any questions for
Okay,
this gentleman?
I
You're gonna be
just
able-
want to make sure I read
You're
this
gonna, we're
before
gonna
the
vote. Remember, we're gonna take a vote, a motion, and during discussion, you can read whatever you want before the vote, before people vote on this.
Before the vote.
Before the people
Thank
vote
you.
on this, yes. All
Thank
right,
you.
All right. So are there any other county board member questions? All right. Yeah. And then you, sir.
I know you mentioned it last time you were here, but will you remind the board approximately how many rail cars equal one barge?
So, yeah, I'll use a little bit different metric, but we're gonna have the capacity to take off 18 unit trains of traffic going through the state of Illinois with the capacity of this terminal. So there's about 50 barrels per rail car. And so there's about, in 100 rail cars, there's about 50,000 barrels. And on one tow, which is a 6-barge tow that would be loaded at our facility, there'll be about 135,000 barrels. So it's about 2.5 to 3 unit trains of oil per tow, per 6-barge tow. So hopefully that is helpful. But we can dramatically reduce the rail traffic carrying oil.
All right, thank you.
County Board Member Van Dyne. You have a
Thank you. Since there are no members of the public wishing to speak on this public hearing, I am going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Okay, well, hold on a
I
second.
made a motion.
Yeah, I do too. I just want to clarify something.
If we have, okay, I will, okay, so. Let's put it this way, so if we can, I have 1, 2, 3 more folks who have questions, not statements. If you have direct questions to this gentleman, I will entertain them. Otherwise, I'm going to go back to Joe's motion. So I do want your questions answered. So if you have direct questions specifically, where you can get an answer, then please ask Mr. Nelson. So County Board Member Butler. I have 3 more people with direct questions.
Okay, I just wanted to know, do you prepare your pipeline for the caustic nature of these different crude oils? Can you explain that to us?
That's a complete misnomer that certain oils are more caustic than others. What happens in the refining process, and again, I've been involved in the refining business for over 40 years. So what happens when you heat up certain oils, they do get acidic, okay? At normal shipping temperatures below 200 to 300 degrees, there's no difference in their caustic nature. There's people that say that there's difference, there literally is none. I can vouch for that. So anything that we're doing at our terminal, regardless of these types of oils, it's not more caustic or more corrosive or anything like that. That is not true.
All right, thank you.
And I could give you studies and
I'm just going to stand.
it would be that proof. That's simply not true.
County Board Member Trenier.
I just wanted to clarify the number you gave to Frankie, Board Member Pretzel, sorry. I wasn't either hearing it correctly or whatever. You say there are only 50 barrels per rail car.
500 per rail car.
I was going to say 50 seems so
It was so low, it's so low. Yeah, I apologize.
No, that's okay.
I slipped a digit there, it's
That's-
500, and then hopefully that math works then, sorry.
It's perfectly okay. I hate numbers. I screw them up all the time.
Appreciate it.
And
Thank
when
you for
one of them
clarifying.
comes out at me and I'm just like, oh, really? Is that right? And then you said one barge would hold 135,000 barrels?
One tow is 6-barge tow. So each of these barges are the 30,000 barrel class barges. That's physically the volume. Depending on the density of the oil, it could fit more or less. With what we expect to load, it will load somewhere in the neighborhood of 21 to 23, 24,000 barrels per barge. So that's the efficiency of barges. And then, of course, you have the efficiencies of floating on the water, and we're going downstream, so it's a lot, it's just a much lower impact than
Sure,
railing.
so 21,000 barrels, that's basically equal to 11 and a half rail cars.
There you go.
Would that be
Yeah,
correct?
that's-
Okay, I just want to make sure I have my numbers and my math straight. Thank you.
County Board Member Diaz?
Yes, I'm kind of on the same subject, barge versus train. You're talking about removing 11 rail cars off per barge off the train lines. However, are you able to guarantee that another company wouldn't come in and then put their oil on it? And I'm asking this question just because, so others can hear it out in the audience that are concerned about this.
I'm not sure I quite understand the
I'll ask
question.
it again.
Just give it another
You're
go.
talking about putting your oil on barges because some people feel it's safer than putting it on the train lines.
Yep.
However, even though you're removing the oil off the train lines onto the barges, can you guarantee that another company can't then turn around and add oil back onto those same train lines?
No, we are offering a service to load it on the barges. It's much cheaper than rail. And as I mentioned at previous board meetings, because it's much cheaper, oil business operates on low cost, and it's likely that they'll make that decision. I cannot guarantee it. I don't control. I'm just providing a service.
I
And
understand that.
I
was
won't own the
ask-
oil either.
Thank you. I was just asking that so other people who thought that would guarantee it have that answer. Thank you very much.
County Board Member O'Gallon? Sorry.
That's okay. I know what it's like pushing the little dots up there. I know that Member Berkowitz would like to have her statement as part of the public hearing. I would request that she is allowed to speak so that it is part of the public hearing.
And I appreciate your advocacy, but I'm going to stick by my ruling that we are going to allow you to make your comments when we take the vote. I am the presiding officer for this. I am trying to make control. I don't interrupt and try to distract from your committee hearing, so I'm going to ask that I'm given the same privilege. So and you are going to be able to talk. You're out of order. So is there any other questions? At this time, I'm going to ask. All right. At this time, I'm going to ask, since there's no more questions for this gentleman, thank you very much. We have some letters that need to be read into public hearing, so we're going to allow those to be read, and then we have a motion and a second to adjourn. So, yeah. Ma'am, we are following order here. I think they tried to answer as much as they could your questions. You can sit back there with that gentleman and answer them, so this is,
Here's the thing,
all right.
you're stopping them from answering my questions.
I appreciate this is a highly charged area, and I am really trying to get every question answered, every statement heard. You can have questions for forever, and I'm not sure we're ever going to be satisfied having all these answers. These folks have to make a decision based on the information they have received from everyone. They're making it from folks they've heard from the experts, from their land use. They're now going to make a decision. I understand you have questions. We've had land use meetings, we've had PZC hearings, and I'm sorry, they can continue to go on. I thought County Board Member Trenier tried to get some of those, followed up with some of those. So if you want to talk about jobs and questions like that, I'm going to ask that you, this gentleman is here to answer everything that you need. I don't.
This will not be a part of the public hearing.
We have had several public hearings on this. Yeah. So I'm going to ask that you please take your seat, ma'am. I'm going to ask that you please take your seat. So I'm doing the point of order. So I'm going to ask. No, I'm trying to be very I'm trying to be very respectful for you. We've heard you. We've tried to answer your questions as much as possible. I'm sorry you're not satisfied. They are going to make a decision based on the information. We have some more public comments we're going to read, but I'm going to. Yeah,
That's fine. When this leaks, you will be the first one I call.
I believe so. You're not the expert in this. Okay, well, you'll be able to do before the vote. Okay, then you'll be able, she's going to stay and she can hear your answers. We are fine. We are going to read these letters now, Julie. No, I am the presiding officer. I am going to decide. I do not come to your committee meetings and disrupt it. I'm trying to maintain some order here. And you are interrupting me. You are going to have your job. You're going to be able to make your comments after a motion and a second. You're not being denied speaking. It doesn't matter if it's going on the record. It's going on the record. Yeah. Please, she will continue to yell. Please just read them. We've explained that. Go ahead. Just please.
Joseph Therese, I am against an oil pipeline in the city of Lockport because past history has proven them to be unsafe to the environment we live in due to numerous factors such as leaks. Diane Bazan, this letter is from a colleague of CARES and of which I support her concerns about this project. I walked out my front door this morning, June 20th, and was met with the smell of oil and the noise of construction equipment. Both came from the nearby Enbridge facility. Not the way I like to start my day, but I fear it is the way many Lockport residents will start many days if Ducere is allowed to construct their proposed barge terminal on the CSSC. Ducere claims pipelines are the safest way to transport petroleum, even assuming the unlikely position that someone wants to see more highly toxic, flammable petroleum products running through their neighborhood. The notices sent out by oil and pipeline companies run counter to Ducere's assertion. Attached is a picture of the magnets with the emergency phone numbers that I have in my refrigerator. These magnets have been sent to me and my neighbors by West Shore Pipeline, Shell, Wolverine, Enbridge, and Exxon. Pamphlets on how to identify leaks and what actions to take accompany the magnets. These are not sent out as an act of altruism. The fact that these mailings show up like clockwork makes it clear to me that pipelines are not capable of real-time monitoring of their equipment or products. Instead, they conscript the public without pay into their service to find leaks and notify them of such. Pipelines are not safe modes of transportation, they are simply hidden ones. And as they are hidden, their legacy of environmental damage cannot currently be assessed. Will County should be encouraging clean jobs and clean energy, not opening the door to the same obsolete and dangerous technologies that have already left us with contaminated air, water, and soil. Andrew Engelbrecht. This pipeline that's being voted on has two major concerns to me. Will it leak into our drinking water? Will this be part of the problem in the era of climate change? These risks don't seem worth it. Think about your children and the rest of the next generations. What will they say when you did nothing to ensure a livable habitat for humanity? Jennifer Garlitz. I strongly recommend that you vote against the proposed Ducere tar sands oil pipeline. Tar sands are thicker and more corrosive than crude oil. That is why pipelines carrying tar sands oil leak at 3 times the rate of pipelines carrying crude oil. The statistics for this are from 2007 to 2010. When tar sand oil leaks, it is more difficult to clean up because it is heavy and it sinks immediately. In addition, tar sands oil creates 4 times the carbon pollution of crude oil and the extraction and refining processes. This is totally unacceptable, and we need to do everything possible to stop climate change. I recommend that you read an article from NRDC on the proposed tar sands oil Keystone Pipeline. https://www.nrdc.org, stories, What Keystone XL Pipeline. Mary McCowan. I'm concerned about this proposed pipeline going through Lockport, Illinois. Most concerned that the developer is talking about a 2.5-mile pipeline going under the I&M Canal. The Des Plaines River and the I&M connect right there under the Lockport Bridge. They're both used for recreation for the birds and animals that live in the nearby prairies, the owls, hawk, herons. Should there be a small accident, it would be catastrophic to the wildlife and the way of life in Lockport. Please reconsider this proposal and deny it. Darren Deskin, I support the Ducere development. I'm against the pipeline. I'm against this pipeline proposed to be built through our county. It could leak into our drinking water, and it's a contributing factor to climate change. Andrew Engelbrecht. Reem Townsend. My comments are regarding ZC 23023. I'm encouraging the board to vote no. The oil refining is currently being done here, so if this passes, that will lead to job loss affecting unions. The other concern is oil spillage, which we've had enough spillage in Will County.
We had a motion by, no, we're going to close this hearing, all right? We're going to, okay.
Mary, so last night at the caucus, State's Attorney Kevin Meyer said that if something is, if it's not said during public hearing, that you may not use it to vote yes or no in your decision-making process. Is this true or false?
The impact of what is said as public hearing is what would be included in the evidence before court. You can use information that you have received to, you know, in the packet or anything else to make your decision and to vote yes or no.
Thank you.
So with that, we had a motion by County Board Member Van Dyne. We had a seconded by Dean Schlottman. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
The public hearing is now closed. Chair Pretzel.
Thank you, Madam Executive. First up on the agenda, ordinance amending the Will County, Illinois zoning ordinance as amended for zoning case ZC 23023, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. Owner of record, Ducir LLC. Dave Nelson, applicant, requesting zoning map amendment from A1 to I1 for part of parcel number 1104224000100000, and a special use permit for manufacturing and industrial services. Actually, 3 special use permits for manufacturing and industrial services. And I so move.
So we have a motion by Pretzel, seconded by Ogala. Madam Clerk, or any discussion? County Board Member Berkowitz. This is on the map amendment.
Thank you, Madam Executive. So this, we've heard this multiple times, our Land Use Committee as well. And I've heard the concerns of the residents, many who took time again to be here today. Thank you. And I've heard the concerns of other board members regarding this particular case. I took the initiative to do some research. I went to our own EMA department, and I have a statement that I would like to share from them. This answers many of the questions that were raised during the public hearing. So I'm going to read this statement that I received from Allison Anderson with the EMA. I'd also like it put in the record, please, just so people, when they look at our minutes, they know that this information is there. So I will read that short statement now. Good afternoon, County Board Member Berkowitz. Chelsea passed along some information that you were looking to have me discuss the safety aspects that our chemical facilities undergo in regards to a new facility in Lockport. I'm out of the office this week at a class. Just briefly, each of the chemical facilities is regulated under the Emergency Community Right to Know Act, EPCRA. Each facility possesses an extremely hazardous substance based on the substance and quantity on hand. If they do, they are required to file a report with the state and us regarding their emergency procedures. This includes their cleanup procedures. The chemical facilities along the river have entered into a joint agreement to assist with any spill that may impact the river. This is all coordinated out of the Three Rivers Manufacturing Association. Facilities like Citgo and ExxonMobil will respond to their neighbors should there be an incident. For all chemical facilities within Will County, we have integrated a product for first responders called Flow MSP. This gives all fire departments access to the chemical information as the alarm is called. They also have access beforehand to ensure that the right agents are applied to the chemical. This information answers a lot of the concerns that the local neighbors have had. Our EMA is comfortable with this case. They do not have any concerns about this. I am confident that this is something that we are prepared if there ever were to be an incident, but we do not anticipate any incidents with the safety protocols that are set in place and the planning and the efforts of EMA and the local responders. For that reason, thank you for allowing me to read this statement from our own EMA department, and I'd like this placed into the file. Thank you.
Board Member Ortiz.
I'd like to read a quote from Forbes. For environmental impact, boat is worse than pipeline, worse than truck, worse than rail, end quote. 5 of the 10 largest oil spills in history have been as a result of boats. And 2 oil companies in Will County, near where this project is planned, have been named the worst waterway polluters in the nation, according to studies done this year. I don't think it's a smart idea to put another potentially hazardous project to our waterways in an environmental justice area pinpointed by the state, especially since there has been no environmental impact study for this project since government regulations haven't been updated in 40 years, much like our county board ordinances. Placing this project in an environmental justice area is not fair to low-income Black and Hispanic people who have already been disproportionately affected by negative environmental impacts from big corporations' pollution. When I ran for office, I vowed to the people in my district to fight for clean water, clean air, and a sustainable future for our children to be proud of inheriting. Referring back to the study I quoted from Forbes, for environmental impacts, boats are the worst mode of transportation for oil. For this reason, I will be a no vote on this project.
Is there any, no other comments? We have a motion, we have a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Yeah, we did. Yeah, we're voting on the map amendment. Yeah, we did. Do you have a motion and second? We're voting on the map, yeah. Yes, we're voting on the map amendment. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich.
Yes.
Trainier. Dean Schlattman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
16 affirmative, the motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Next, we're voting on a special use permit for manufacturing and industrial services, and I so move. With 5 conditions, I apologize. And I so
We're going to do each of these, we're doing each of these separately, I understand. 3 separate motions?
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Is that
okay.
right?
Do you want to read them?
That ends, for the first PIN number that ends 70000. Oh,
They all have the same PIN number, that's why it's confusing.
okay. S23004 is the special use permit?
S23004, yes.
Yep, okay.
That's what we're voting on now. Okay. All right.
They're all the same PIN number.
Can,
This is 070, then 10, then 60.
can you send, would you like to give, can you give Chair Pretzel the list of them? So he can read them off individually?
Thank you. Yep. 19, and I think 004 is this one.
Yep, was the map amendment. Yep, and then you've got the other one. Where's the other one? 2318. 1819.
Let me find that one for you.
Should be All right, the first one, it's pretty confusing, but the first one is a special use permit 23-018, and I so move. No?
Yeah, I think we skipped one, yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
Because you've got your map amendment is a 2304. Now you've got an S2304 and an S2318.
Do you want to highlight it?
Okay, so we're on this one?
Yep. Yeah.
I apologize again. First one is special use permit S23004.
Correct.
And I so
Okay.
move.
All right. Motion by Van Dyne, motion by Pretzel, seconded by Van Dyne. Any discussion? And County Board Member Trenier.
I did vote yes on the map amendment. I don't have any particular problem with them changing that from agriculture to industrial. It already has what I would personally consider some industrial on it. But some of our board members are going to continue to do what we've always done, just kind of move things along, because we've accepted oil as a common thing. There are plenty of us that are open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. I'm what I would consider an early adopter. We started using bamboo in my house 20 years ago. I got an electric car 20 years ago. Well, maybe not quite 20, 15. I got solar panels. Many of my colleagues, many of my peers do not have these things. I just consider myself an early adopter, but that's why I'm going to be voting no on this. I don't have a problem with a map amendment, but I do have a problem with the project that is proposed for the land. So I just hope we can all continue to show respect to one another and appreciate all of our different ideas. That's extremely important to me. Thank you.
Thank you. County Board Member Mitchell.
I just want to say something because I didn't say it prior to. I just would like to say to Sear that, and ask that they please be good stewards of the people's land. And that's really just it.
Thank you. Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Yes. Trainier. No. Dean Schlottman. Yes. Van Dyne.
Yes.
Pretzel.
Yes.
Butler. Yes. Newquist. Yes. Richmond.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Williams.
No.
Diaz. No. Freeman.
Yes.
Revis.
Yes.
Mitchell.
Yes.
Ortiz. Berkowitz.
Yes.
Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
Yes.
15 votes in the affirmative, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next is special use permit for manufacturing and industrial services, S23-018, and I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Ogala. Any discussion?
Second.
Previous roll by Joe Van Dyne, seconded by Balich. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And last, special use permit for manufacturing and industrial services, S23019, and I so move.
Motion by Pretzel, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll by Berkowitz, seconded by Balich. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So, first resolution, 23205, amending section 117.06 of the Will County Contractors Registration and Bonding Ordinance, and I so move.
Second, Obiella.
I would actually make a motion.
Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, so we have a motion by, we have a motion by Pretzel, seconded by Freeman. Did you second? Who was it? Newquist? I don't know. Who was? Ogala. Yes, yell your last names out. I'm hearing voices. Motion, seconded by Gale. Any discussion?
I have to.
Yes, any discussion? So County Board Member Revis.
Oh, yeah, I think that we should hold this off for 30 days. One of the companies, Tesla, that we're working with for the solar panels, it wants to look into this a little bit further. Doesn't mean that we're going to change our internal policy here at the county for them, but I think we should give them that time to look into it. So I would make that motion to suspend this until next month's meeting.
You have to, are you asking to motion to table or motion to go back to committee?
To table it. To
Table.
table it, yep.
Okay,
Motion to
so a
table it.
motion
Till
to,
next month.
to
Till
make,
next
motion to table, is there a second? Second by Dean Schlottman. Well, we got to do a clean roll call. So is it, Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Or is there any more discussion on that? I'm sorry. County Board Member, or Chair Ogala. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know, there you go.
All right. Can we have land use come up and make a comment to this, please? Because I want to understand why we want to table it. I know, but haven't they been looking at it all this time? I would think we should vote no, yes. Thank you, Brian.
What was the question?
I'm just wondering why we would want to make the, why would we would want to vote to table this. I thought that this has been going on for a while now, that we had held it 1 month for further information and that we've been looking into it. And I think we should be ready to vote. I'm just curious, why would we want to go back? Haven't they had time to do their due diligence?
I mean, this would be the board's decision to table the matter. There was a public hearing earlier this year. The Land Use Committee has reviewed the language. I believe there's still some people that have some questions, so it'd be up to you whether or not you want to table the matter or not. The way the ordinance is currently written, the self-insured retention policies are not permitted. So this change only further clarifies that. So really, it doesn't have any effect on today's ordinance as it pertains to contractors other than parties that want to use self-insured retention. So, you know, if you table it, it's the same ordinance is still in place and it's not allowed.
Thank you.
County Board Member Trenier.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Yes, Brian, my understanding is that this allows them to be self-insured. But yet we have, if we were to vote yes for this ordinance change, we have no way to guarantee that this company will be in business in 10 years, 20 years, 5 minutes. I believe the former CEO of the company even recently stepped down. So I think our ordinance is good. I think we ask them to bond, and if they aren't willing to bond, well, they don't have to play in our backyard. They can go find another county.
So to answer your question, so the way the ordinance is currently written, it doesn't allow self-insured retention.
Right.
Some companies have had an interest in wanting to provide a self-insured retention policy for the liability insurance that's required by code. And they challenged the department and said, well, your ordinance doesn't say that we can't do that. So the state's attorney's office advised us that we should make this change to make it absolutely clear that we don't accept it. So the way it's currently drafted is to make it clear that self-insured retention is not accepted. It's the change doesn't allow it. That would be a different direction if the board wanted to go in that direction. All this does is further clarify it.
Thank you, because I got some misinformation and I was not at the land use meeting. I was of the understanding we were allowing them to be self-insured with this ordinance change, not clarifying that they cannot be. Thank you.
County Board Member Newquist.
You know, excuse me, Brian answered my question. I was just making sure that I was, excuse me, correct, that this ordinance just basically says we will not allow people to self-insure. So Jackie, I'm sorry if you misunderstood me last night, but that's what I was trying to say at caucus, that we are not allowing people to self-insure, correct?
That's correct. The way
Thank
the
you.
ordinance is currently written, it is not permitted. This just further clarifies it, and that was at the direction of the state's attorney's office.
County Board Member Revis.
So, and I just want to clarify what we spoke about at caucus. Our goal on tabling this isn't to table it to make the change where we would allow for a company to come in and use a self-insurance policy. But at the request of one of the companies involved, Tesla, they were going about trying to figure out how they were going to navigate our policy as a county. But some things happened, a meeting occurred, and they just simply need 30 more days to look into it to see how they are going to respond to our lack of desire to change our policy. We are not trying to change the policy. We're just trying to give them 30 additional days. And I would like to point out, for the previous agenda item last month, we allowed 30 additional days for, I think, politically motivated reasons. And this stall of 30 days would simply be to allow a company to determine how they are going to respond to our internal policy. So in one sense, we were all right with setting something back 30 days so we can, to a degree of political theater. But now when there's business involved, I think it would only make sense to follow that same standard and give this company 30 additional days to determine how they're going to navigate our policy that we're not going to be willing to change, which is fine, but at least give them the 30 days to see how they're going to navigate what we're telling them. I think it's only appropriate, and I encourage you to vote yes on tabling this for 30 days. Thank you.
Chair O'Gall.
Thank you. So Tesla has 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, what have you, to figure it out. They knew coming in what our policy was. This ordinance change clarifies it even further, so there's no confusion on that. And it's been the county's policy to not accept self-insured, and that is what we're doing. And for them, they have to decide how they're going to get insured. They'll have to do that. They have to figure that out, and 30 days doesn't change that. So there's a difference in why we would table one issue and not another issue. So I guess I'm ready to vote on this.
County Board Member Freeman.
Thank you. I am just curious, if we were tabling it, are we tabling it to gain more information?
Do you want to, he is asking it to table, but I will let County Board Member Revis respond to why he desires to have it tabled.
Yeah, I spoke with the individual from Tesla, which is a company involved in this, and they said if we make this change and vote on this change, they would pull the project. And I think that would impact us for future projects with them, and allowing them this professional courtesy while maintaining the fact that we're not going to change our internal ordinance on this, which I think most of this board is in agreement with, that we shouldn't change our policy for this one company, but allowing them 30 days. When we brought it up at caucus, there wasn't much pushback on it, and it just seems like the mature professional courtesy that we can provide to them, give them that time to figure out how they're going to navigate our policy. Not saying we're going to change it, just at least keep them in the game, keep them at the table. And then if 30 days come and go and they can't, and they don't want to continue playing ball, then they can leave. But we could vote on it then. I just think it would be appropriate to give them that 30 days since they're asking for it.
Thank you for that clarification.
County Board Member Ballage.
I agree with what Mark is saying. We talked about it in our caucus. It's not going to hurt anything to give the company another 30 days. But I disagree with what he said, that the reason we sent that other thing was back wasn't a political thing. There was no politics involved with it. And you got to remember something. When your words mean something. Okay? So I made the statement last time that if a county board member wants more information and it's not going to do anything damaging to the whole issue, we should respect the county board member that's saying, I need more information. At that time, we had Raquel and Destiny, and it was not political. And so we have to watch our words, because when you say this is a political, we sent it back for politics. No, we sent it back because there were two county board members, not one, two, that wanted more information. And so, to me, if one county board wants more information, and we should respect that county board member, because you don't know when it's going to be your turn to want more information. So even though everybody thought it was a good project then, I get it. Because I had people call me and bitch at me and stuff, okay? But guess what? There's somebody wanted more information, it don't hurt to get more information rather than not have it and vote the wrong way. And that's, I hate to chastise you in public, but, that's the only way I can get it across to everybody in the room. We have to respect everybody's wishes to know more information. And that don't mean we have to do it all the time, but we should really think about it. So with that, I am in favor of tabling it, because it ain't gonna hurt nothing for tabling it for a month.
All right. Thank you. County Board Member Newquist?
Thank you. I guess I'm just confused as to what 30 days is going to buy them. I mean, we won't allow them to be self-insured now. So we're not changing anything. And I understand wanting to keep a large company like that at the table, but I don't see how delaying this vote would do that. I'm just really confused, because I think the majority of the board is in agreement about maintaining our current status quo about self-insured, which is to not allow it. So I'm just really puzzled by what we gain by delaying this.
Board Member Berkowitz.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Mary, I'd like to ask Mary a question. Do you have any concerns with this conversation? Because I'm a little uncomfortable about it, and just the topic and talking about certain businesses. And no issues? Okay, this is good. Okay, as long as you don't have any issues. Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to table the vote. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Freeman.
I didn't hear you, John. No?
I'm sorry, what was it?
They didn't hear you.
Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz.
Or then, if we table it.
It comes back to the county board next month. It won't go back to committee, it's just going to be tabled here, you'll vote on it next month.
Okay. And so there's no discussion at land use, we're just gonna, oh, it is going to land use?
No, it won't go back to, no, they're not asking to remand it to committee, they're just asking it to table to come back. So to give time for Mark to talk to some individuals in our office to talk to this company. For more information. For more information. So it's coming back here for a vote.
Okay.
If you table it.
And
It's
and
not
I
going to
ask that
committee.
because we keep getting things sent back to our committees.
It's not
and
committee.
We're not being effective.
He has to table it to vote. He has to table the vote for next
Okay.
month. Yes.
Mary, you're fine?
Yes.
To be clear, whether or not
Okay.
he wanted to
Yes.
send it back to committee or just table it, and he said just table it. So
Yes.
it comes back.
So
to
no
county board.
changes, the same thing we see, okay, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, yes, all right. And county board member, County Board Member Ballard, you. Oh, you can just change it. We haven't stopped the vote. We haven't stopped the vote. Yeah. So are you yes or no?
Okay.
Okay. Is there,
I hope then they.
okay. Okay, Diaz, yes? Okay, County Board Member Freeman?
What, I got
Okay, is there
Freeman and
anyone
Diaz.
else? All right.
Diaz changed? too?
Diaz, Freeman, and Ballard have all
Got it.
changed their vote to yes.
Berkowitz.
Berkowitz, I'm sorry,
Berkowitz.
which, yes or no? She didn't record your vote.
Mueller. Yes. Costa. No. Ogella. 12, yes. 7.
12 in the, 12 in the affirmative, the motion carries, yeah. Well, we had already finished the vote. All right, is it too late? I don't, yeah. You can make a motion, now at this point, you can make a motion to reconsider your vote. No, I'm sorry, just. No, he just wants to change his vote. Well, we weren't at the, okay, change it. Go ahead. All right, what are we at now? What? $11 in the affirmative, the motion carries. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You
Okay,
were
I'm
on.
happy to announce that the next Land Use and Development Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 8th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Richmond.
All right, let's move on, Madam Executive. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
First item up is the monthly financial reports to be placed on file in the amount of $5,568,985.93, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Madam Clerk, any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond.
Yes.
Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Revis.
Yes.
Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogalla.
19, oh, 18? 18 in the affirmative, the motion carries.
Second line item, resolution number 23-206, declaring surplus in Fund 4001 and authorizing refund.
Motion by Richmond. Seconded by Freeman. Any discussion? Previous Newquist, seconded by Berkowitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Third line item, resolution number 23-207, amending budget to Fund 4001 to allow refund to special service area taxpayers of record. And I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Revis. Previous roll call by Freeman, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 4, resolution number 23-208, authorizing county executive to execute necessary documents for delinquent tax program, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Freeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Fifth line item, resolution number 23-209, appropriating funds from the Helena Health Arise Grant and the Will County Health Department budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Diaz, seconded by Newquist. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-210, transferring appropriations within various county budgets, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Trenier, seconded by Mueller. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-211, appropriating Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity grant funds, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond. Second, hold on a second, because, seconded by Ogalla. We need to add, would you like to be a yes with, because we're gonna do previous, okay. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Revis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Last item, 23-212, appropriating ARPA payment to Sunny Hill Nursing Home budget, and I so move.
Motion by Richmond, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Diaz, second by Parker. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 at 11 o'clock here at the County Building.
Thank you. Chair Van Dyne, Transportation.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone in the gallery for sticking around for Transportation Committee. We have 8 items to consider, starting with Resolution 23-213, confirming award of contract to PT Farrell Construction, $1,699,969.10 for County Highway 14 resurfacing. County Boards District 8, 9, and 10, and I will make the motion.
Second Freeman.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Freeman. I heard previous roll call by Aguila, seconded by Diaz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-214, improvement by county under the Illinois Highway Code for the Plainfield-Naperville Road County Highway 14 resurfacing using our MFT funds, $1.875 million. County Boards District 8, 9, and 10. I so move.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Dean Schlottman, seconded by Mueller. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-215, confirming award of contract to Grosso Construction, $161,198.35 for Florence Road District Seal Coat, County Board District 1, and I would like to make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by Freeman, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-216, authorizing an IGA between the Village of Romeoville and the County of Will for maintenance and energy of the traffic signals at the intersection of Weber and Grand Haven Circle. County Board District 9, I'll make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Ortiz. Previous roll call by Newquist, seconded by Costa. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-217, authorizing an agreement between the State of Illinois acting by, through the Illinois Commerce Commission, BNSF Railway Company, high rail grade crossing at Brandon Road, County Highway 42, County Board District 6, I so move.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Costa, seconded by Diaz. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 23-218, authorizing approval of the Will County 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan with Civil Tech Engineering, County Boards, all the County Boards District 1 through 11, I so move.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Dean Schlottman. Previous roll call by O'Gala, seconded by Mitchell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
23-219, resolution for engineering services under the Illinois Highway Code for the Will County 2050 Long Range Plan, using our MFT funds, $1,749,540, all county board districts, and I will make that motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Trenier. Previous roll call by Mitchell, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Last resolution, 23-220, authorizing approval of the establishment of altered speed zone 673 along Renwick Road with Plainfield Township Road District, County Board District 8. I'll make the motion.
Motion by Van Dyne, seconded by Mitchell. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Richmond. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
And I am even prouder to announce that our next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 at 9 a.m. And that concludes our report.
Thank you. Chair Freeman, Public Health. and
Good
Safety.
afternoon. Really quick, we had our regular updates. We met the Sunny Hill Staff Development Media Coordinator who just started. Her name is June Smolik. If you run into her, say hi. Sunny Hill Tuberculosis Sanatorium and Clinic, Joyce Parker came and brought some of the doctors, gave us a history of the clinic, and gave us numbers of cases and services in the county. Bricks Technology came. They are a company that deals with coal ash removal, to explain an option for coal ash removal other than capping. And they did make it very clear that they do it on site and not transporting raw materials. Very exciting. The Sheriff's Department update included Chief Deputy Jungles, who just returned from a 10-week training at an FBI facility. He ended up, there's only 1% of law enforcement that get to go to this in the nation, which is kind of exciting. There's only 11 officers in Will County who have finished the training. At the end of the course, Chief Deputy Jungles walked away with a certificate, 9 credit hours, a yellow brick, which he got for completing the Yellow Brick Road obstacle course, and he did that in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Other than that, I have 2 resolutions to bring forward. The first one is number 23-21, awarding bid for diabetic supplies for Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and I will make that motion.
Okay, we have, hold on, just let's make sure we're clear. You have 23-221, correct?
221, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Did I say it wrong?
Motion by Freeman, seconded by Mitchell. Any discussion? Previous roll call by Dean Schlottman, seconded by O'Gala. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the next I have number 23-222, which is awarding the bid for food services at the River Valley Juvenile Center, and I will make that motion.
Second, Trinier.
Motion by Freeman, seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Mitchell, seconded by Berkowitz. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Our next public health and public safety meeting will be Tuesday, August 8th at 9 a.m., and I hope to see you all there.
Thank you. Chair Berkowitz, legislative.
Thank you, Madam Executive. Our next legislative committee meeting is Tuesday, August 1st, at 12 p.m.
Thank you. Chair Mueller. Oh. Chair in here, who's the, okay, go ahead. We'll let the vice chair go for capital improvements.
All righty. So first we have item number 23-223, executing an agreement with Constellation Energy to supply natural gas for the Will County RNG plant. And I'll make a motion.
Motion by Parker.
Second, Mitchell.
Seconded by Mitchell. Is there any discussion? Previous roll call by Van Dyne. Seconded by Richmond. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, and the next Capital Improvements Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair O'Gala, Executive.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to open public hearing.
To amending the liquor control ordinance. Okay. Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Van Dyne. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich.
Yes.
Trainier. Yes. Dean Schlottman. Yes. Van Dyne. Yes. Pretzel. Yes. Butler. Yes. Newquist. Yes. Richmond. Yes. Parker. Yes. Williams. Yes. Diaz. Yes. Freeman. Yes. Revis. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Ortiz. Yes. Berkowitz. Yes. Mueller. Yes. Costa. Yes. O'Gala.
Yes.
We are now in public hearing. Please be advised that absolutely no new evidence or information will be allowed once the liquor control public hearing is closed. So is there anyone here to speak on Chapter 110 Code of Ordinance? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Motion by Trinier, seconded by Mitchell. Sorry, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich.
Yes.
Trainier. Yes. Dean Schlottman. Yes. Van Dyne. Yes. Pretzel. Yes. Butler. Yes. Newquist. Yes. Richmond. Yes. Parker. Yes. Williams. Yes. Diaz. Yes. Freeman. Yes. Revis. Yes. Mitchell. Yes. Ortiz. Yes. Berkowitz. Yes. Mueller. Yes. Costa. Yes. O'Gala.
Yes.
Public hearing is now closed. Chair O'Gala. Sorry, I just turned you off. There you go.
That's okay. First, we have Resolution 23-224, amending the liquor control ordinance, increase in Class AG license requested by Michael and Anna Carmine, DBAs, for the Wildflower, can't say that one, Wildflower Farm located in Ammonia, Illinois, and I so move.
Second, Trinier.
Motion by O'Gala, seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Van Dyne. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the next item, we have a Scrivener's error. There was a wrong PIN number, so we're going to get that corrected. Resolution 23-225, correcting Scrivener's error on Resolution 23-191, authorizing county executive to sell county-owned property located in Section 24 of Troy Township to adjacent property owner, and I so move.
Second, Trinier.
Okay. Motion by Ogala, seconded by Berkowitz. Any discussion?
Previous, Trinier.
Previous roll call by Trinier, seconded by Nukwas. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4, Resolution 23-226, proposing the adoption of the HUD Annual Action Plan for program year 2023, beginning October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Trinier. Any discussion? Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Pretzel. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Number 5, Resolution 23-227, setting the public defender's salary, and I so move.
Second, Trinier.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Freeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6, Resolution number 23-228, authorizing an IGA with the Village of Peatone for the recovery and recycling of fire extinguishers, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Mueller. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Trinier. All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have item 7, which is resolution number 23-229, authorizing an IGA with the Village of Park Forest to provide access to the countywide radio system, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Newquist. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Mueller. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8, resolution 23-230, authorizing an IGA with New Lenox Township Road District for the improvement of Francis Road, County Highway 64 at the Marley Road intersection, County Board Districts 2, 4, and 5, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Berkowitz. Previous roll call by Newquist, seconded by Revis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9, resolution 23-231, authorizing the Will County Executive to execute a consent of change control letter to approve the transfer of ownership of the operations and activities of Environmental Recycling and Disposal Services, Inc. to Lakeshore Recycling Systems, LLC, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala,
Second, Trinier.
seconded by Trinier. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Dean Schlamman. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10, Resolution 23-232, adoption of the successor collective bargaining agreement between the County of Will and ASME Council 31, Local 1028, relating to the registered nurses for the Sunny Hill Nursing Home, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Freeman. Previous roll call by Mitchell, seconded by Mueller. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 11, Resolution 23-233, adoption of successor collective bargaining agreement between the County of Will and ASME Council 31, Local 1028, relating to the correctional officers in the Will County Sheriff's Department, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Butler. Previous roll call by Berkowitz, seconded by Mueller. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next, we have item number 12. I have a question here for our state's attorney. I'm under the understanding that we still do not have a signed copy of this, and for that reason, I'm concerned about moving it forward.
The agreement has been ratified.
It has been ratified, but we
Yes.
don't have the copy of it.
Are the changes not attached?
There's no signature on the signature.
They don't.
for either party.
Well, I would refer to Mr. Kujwara.
And here he comes.
To answer your question, it has been ratified, and I do have a signature copy from the deputy's general counsel.
And so you can provide a copy to staff, please?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Resolution 23-234, adoption of the successor collective bargaining agreement between the County of Will and the Fraternal Order of Police, Council 738-1, relating to the sheriff's deputies in the Will County Sheriff's Department, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Pretzel. Discussion, County Board Member Dean Schlottman.
Can you guys do a roll call on that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Balich.
Yes.
Trainier.
Yes.
Dean Schlottman. Van Dyne. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams. Diaz. Freeman. Revis. Mitchell. Ortiz. Berkowitz. Mueller. Costa. Ogala.
Yes.
17 in the affirmative, the motion carries.
Thank you. The next Executive Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, August 3rd at 10 a.m. Next, I'm moving on to the appointments by the County Executive. Our first appointment is Resolution 23-235, approving the County Executive appointments to the Will County Stormwater Management Planning Committee, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Mueller. Any discussion? Previous roll call by Newquist. Seconded by Trenier. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, we got to take a roll call with this. Or unless you want to just, you want to add yes? Okay, there we go. All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item number 2, approving the appointments by the County Executive to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG/Home Advisory Board, and I so move.
Second, Trenier.
Motion by Ogala, seconded by Trenier. Previous roll call by Mueller. Seconded by Freeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 3, approving appointments by the County Executive to the Merit Commission, and I so move.
Motion by Ogala, seconded Mueller. Previous roll call. Newquist, seconded by Freeman. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we're inviting anyone to have public comments relative to matters under the jurisdiction of the county. Is there any issue you'd like to speak on under jurisdiction of the county? That's just a reminder, there is 3 minutes, so when you come up, please state your name as well for our records.
My name is Mike Kabliska. I live in Manuka. I wanted to make the board aware of the gross abuse of horses and steers that's happening at Mexican-style rodeos in Will County. These rodeos consist of one event, steer tailing. A steer is forced to run alongside a wall. A contestant rides up alongside him on horseback, grabs the steer's tail, and pulls him around, making him trip. Steers can't run sideways or backwards any better than we do, so they crash to the ground. It's cruel and very dangerous to the steers. My organization, Showing Animals Respect and Kindness, has used drones to video document animals being abused in clear violation of state laws at these events. Steers are jabbed with powerful electric prods that are banned in American-style rodeos. Steers are run 15 to 20 times per performance. Injured steers are left to suffer without any veterinarian care at all. When they aren't being electrically prodded, the steers are constantly jabbed with sticks throughout the event. The nature of injuries we've seen are laming, broken legs, painful skull damage, and broken backs. Some steers' tails are degloved, meaning the outside sheath of their tails are ripped off of the underlying muscle. This is extremely painful and creates a serious risk of infection. Contestants beat their own horses, slapping them in the face, fists to the head, and whippings, including whipping them in the face. If you haven't seen the video documentation, it might be difficult to believe that this happens in Illinois, including in Will County, but it does. I hope this board will look into this issue and take action. All of these abuses violate the Illinois Humane Care for Animals Act. The publicizing of the very disturbing images that we are gathering at these events are damaging the reputation of our state. We don't want to see Illinois' reputation damaged, but we are determined that this clear and illegal animal abuse will not stand. I'm available to meet with anyone and show you our documentation that we have gathered and continue to gather. My phone number is 815-514-8284. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no other public comment, we are going to move on to county board members. County board, please press your button. County Board Member Butler.
Thank you. So obviously, I'm going to be speaking about the old county court building. And as you know, it is the brutalism style of architecture. It's not flashy or shiny, we know that. But instead, it's rooted in the ideas of functionalism and a monumental simplicity, which is kind of nice because I'd like to see that government be represented in this same form. Building to reuse this this county office space is a very wise decision on our part because we already own it. We have the land, we have use of the land as long as we make use of public access and public use. And because we can apply for two different tax credits, the River Edge redevelopment zone and the National Register, we get 45% in tax credits. So a lot of places in Joliet have this. If they're historical, they can make use of both. All of Joliet is the covered under the River Edge redevelopment zone tax credits. So there's a lot of properties here that can do that. Public buildings can be done this way. Private buildings can be done this way. In Joliet, we've already reconditioned a school and made it a police station. They've done that in Rockford. The Rialto was a private, interest that used both tax credits like we want to do on this county courthouse. And they've made good use of that money. I'm just thinking as we sit in this building, this building, I didn't really realize it, but there's not many windows in here. This is not a very pleasurable place to work probably. And we have a 4-story building that is like all windows. It would be a great view and it'd be a great open design. So the tax credits are kind of confusing for some people. They're not quite understanding them. If we get the tax credits, we can sell the tax credits to anyone in the country, okay? You don't have to just sell these, there's not any specific way to get rid of them or use them. You can sell these, and they're generally sold for 90 cents on the dollar, because obviously if you sold them for what they were, there wouldn't be any credit for anyone to benefit. So big companies that have large tax bills will buy up those tax credits, and when you get that money, you can pay down on the cost of the building. So if we were, if we wanted to really use these tax credits well, we could take a little bit more time in selling them, and we could use them for companies that would want to invest in Joliet. And there's plenty of properties in Joliet that could be redeveloped, and even those companies could actually benefit from the same tax credits that, we're benefiting from. And I think with a little vision, of the Joliet landscape, we could find that this city could be transformed into a beautiful city and really represent our county well. Other people talked about the historical preservation group and what are their interests. Well, obviously their interests are to save the building. because that's what they do. They're interested in saving historical buildings. They casted a wide net and gave many different possibilities of what could be done with that building. And some people who didn't want the building might have latched on to some of the things that weren't possible. But certainly there were many things that were possible. So if we had county offices in that building, that would meet public use and public access. So it is quite legal and it requires no change of laws. So I just wanted to make that clear to people. And with a 45% tax savings or tax credits, it comes out to, be 90% of that. It's still like, could be $39 million easily, of savings. So as a fiscal conservative, it makes sound decision to rehab, okay? And as if, you're an environmentalist, you should be worried about the carbon footprint. I mean, it's more than just the materials that are made. It's the cost to the environment, tearing the building down and having to get new materials, whether it be mining from, the quarries or from cutting trees down. It all takes energy, even the shipping of it. And the structure of that building is a large part of that. That building was designed to take 2 more floors. That building's not going anywhere if we want to use it. We're gonna be able to use that for a long time. But we could add 2 more floors to the top of that building. So it would even allow more space. So no one's gonna come in here and say, oh, well, we were just doing this because we wanted a hotel. The county board is gonna decide what goes in that building. And I'd like to think that we make this decision based on the best interest of the taxpayers. And if we don't have an idea of what we're doing there and we demolish this building, we take a very important option off the table. So I'm just asking that we consider a study that will allow us to look into rehabbing and evaluate the costs and see what our needs are before we do, make any serious moves to demolish a building that most of the people I've talked to, and I've talked to a lot of the people in my district, want us to remodel. This is not something we want to spend, $300 million on. And I think that we're going to have to really think about with this coming economy and, what's going on with government spending, about being more frugal in our decisions. Thank you.
Is there any more county board members before I move on to leadership? Once, twice? All right. County board member, Leader Trenier.
Thank you, Madam Executive, and thank you, Board Member Butler, for your comments about the courthouse. My role, as I see it, having been selected not only by the residents of my community as a board member, but also by my peers as the caucus leader, is for any matter in front of a county board member, that board member gets all the information that they need to make the best decision for our residents. And not even just for my caucus, it would be for anybody in our board. If they have a question, if they have a concern, I know our leadership team is really devoted to getting you the information that you need to make the best decision. We had a very contentious vote here today. Climate change has not only shaken up our thermometers, but it's shaken up our residents and our board members. We're living through a lot of changes right now. We've got huge changes in the way that we work, in technology. I mean, somebody mentioned earlier about the internet in 1990, and it just seems like it's always been here, but it really hasn't. I remember discussions with colleagues at work about email and how one of my colleagues says, well, I have a beeper and I have a fax machine. I don't need email. And it wasn't that long ago. There's a lot of change happening and it shakes people up. It makes some people uncomfortable because they're comfortable with the way things are. They want to keep doing them the way we've always done them. There are other people that are open to new ideas and they've got their ears open and they go on tours and they research things on the internet and they ask questions. They don't just take what was told to them as gospel. And it seems like on our board we have those two different camps. And all I would want to do is urge everybody again, as I spoke earlier, be respectful, be understanding. You know, just because things don't go your way or your opinion isn't the majority one, that doesn't mean that it's not important, that what you had to say isn't important, doesn't mean that what you said wasn't real and wasn't fact. We're dealing with a lot of change, and sometimes change is difficult for folks. So everybody have a wonderful evening if you can. I can't believe we're done on a Wednesday. Thank you.
County Board, or Leader Ballage.
Well, I'm looking at something that other people, I always think out of the box a little bit. Everybody should know that. So if you don't know it, that's how I think. I played semi-pro football for about 10 years, and I was the smallest guy in the league, and I kicked butt. But why was it that I was able to succeed? So I asked myself those questions, right? Well, the rules were different. The rules then were you were told to hit people in their knees no matter what, so you can knock them down and hurt them. And that's how semi-pro football was played. And so since I was short, fast, and strong, it was easy to hit everybody in the knees. Now there's rules against that. So all these rules that get created change the whole scenario of what something was. So you're probably wondering, what the hell am I talking about, right? Talking about the purge. The state of Illinois Supreme Court just said that we're going to implement the Safety Act. Now, the leader of our team is Jim Glasgow. He's out there, he's challenging them again. And the rest of us have to get behind Jim Glasgow, because if we get the purge in here, like, just think about something. I come home 11, 12 o'clock from a meeting or a fundraiser or something. I got some bum laying on my front doorstep, drunk, and I call the cops. The cops come, and they say, "Can you please get off this guy's porch?" And then the guy says, "Screw you, I ain't getting off the porch." The cop can't do nothing. So then he leaves, the guy's still there. So I go get a baseball bat and I whack him. Now I'm in trouble, right? This is what we're heading for a lot of people having to defend their own property, defend themselves, because the police are held back. And there's all kinds of, I forgot them all because it's been about, 7, 8 months since I used to go around talking at all these different locations about the Safety Act. But, so I can't remember all of them, but let's just say attempted rape. One of the women, most of these people in here are women. What if you get attempted rape? They can't arrest, they can't put the guy in jail. That's baloney. So what I'm asking is that we all get behind Jim Glasgow. And I brought up a scenario of like when they get released because they have to and they're a bad criminal. Let's just put them in a car and take them to Chicago where they come from. But I was told by Ken Gray you can't do that. But we're going to, Jim Richmond, he came up with a good idea. And I'm not going to talk about it now, but you know what? I liked this idea. It was a way to solve the problem in a peaceful way. So keep your ears open and let's go forward and support the state's attorney's office in his battle to protect all of us. God bless everybody. And
Chiro Gala.
Thank you. I just want to make a PSA announcement in a way. I know that we've have difficulty with our speakers, with the video and things like that, and I've been informed that we have there's people that go back there, unplug items in the control room, plug them in, turn things on or off. That impacts us, so I'm thinking if you are not supposed to be in that room, please don't go in that room, don't touch it, because we have enough things to happen here on the board floor. We don't need to have the issues with our mics and our video, so please do that so we can keep moving. I just want to hope that everyone had a wonderful time with family and friends this 4th of July holiday. celebrating America's independence. Living in America and being an American citizen is certainly something we should be proud of. I'd like to respond that, well, some change is good, some change is not always good, and sometimes we don't know what a change will be until we get there. So I know that we have a mixed board with different feelings, and I think that, as Jackie says, we need to just respect each other and understand that just because you believe a certain way doesn't mean somebody else, what they believe is wrong. We have to understand that. I'd like to thank every one of your board members who come all the time to all of your meetings and those who attend extra meetings. Thank you for your time and dedication that you get. I know that everybody does a lot of work behind the scenes before you come to the meetings, and sometimes, you know, you're asked to make a very difficult decision when you vote. You have to vote with the information that you have, and not everyone is going to be happy with it, but be confident in who you are and what you're voting for. Appreciate that. And I would just like to finally say safe travels to our board members and staff as they travel to and from NACO. That's happening in Austin, Texas. We look forward to hearing what you've learned when you return next month. And unbelievably, it's going to be August. I can't believe it. I don't know where the summer went, but I hope you have a good weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. This time I need to have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the court security officer's contract. Motion by Agalis, seconded by Mueller. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Balich. Trainier. Trainier. Dean Schlattman. Van Dyne, gone. Pretzel. Butler. Newquist. Richmond. Parker. Williams.